Shun Muhon gave his new secretary a necklace worth $1 million. The little secretary posted on her social media to show off. Hard work pays off, and a persistent heart will never be let down. I'll keep working hard, my dear CEO. The chief assistant forwarded this social media post to me. I forwarded this moment to Shun Muhon again. $1 million is small change. How much does Mr. Shun consider big money? Over 10 million, I guess, within 1 minute. Transfer 20 million to me immediately. With the note voluntary gift, Shun Muhon sent a message, stop fooling around, baby. Then, he received a video. In the video, I directly smashed his most beloved antique vase, exactly 20 million. Shun Muhon's call came through immediately. Do you know how expensive that vase is? What on earth are you making a fuss about, Shun Muhon? Is my message not clear enough? I glanced at the watch on my wrist. You have 34 seconds left. I'm standing right in front of that antique painting in your study. You know what the consequences will be. The call was immediately hung up, and 20 seconds later, 20 million was transferred into my bank account. I sent him a photo of his favorite ancient painting, now torn into pieces scattered all over the floor. The vase earlier was a warning. This ancient painting is the punishment. Shun Muhon, you are already married. This time, Shun Muhon did not call again. Nor did he send any more messages. I know he must be angry, but I don't care. Marriages among wealthy families are always accompanied by interests. If there is love, it is the luck of both the man and the woman. If not, it is also a normal phenomenon. My situation with Shun Muhon is a mixed blessing. We didn't dislike each other when we first met, but we didn't exactly like each other either, which set the tone for this marriage. Our union initially had no emotional foundation. After the grand wedding ceremony, we slept in separate rooms on our wedding night, even bidding each other goodnight before bed. It wasn't until nearly half a year into our marriage that he finally got intimate with me. And even then, I was the one who took the initiative. The Shun family is an old money, prestigious household that values tradition and propriety. Everything they do follows established rules, which is why Shun Muhon developed such a cool, reserved, and refined personality. In contrast, the Su family comes from the lower rungs of society. My father fought his way up with his fists, bricks, and machetes. We don't have all those stuffy rules like the Shun family. We're straightforward and unapologetically bold, so I don't believe in love at first sight at all. Shun Muhon and I clearly belong to the type where feelings develop over time. I love Shun Muhon, and Shun Muhon loves me too, but both of us are very rational. We don't put our love for each other in the first place, but it's not too far behind either. This time, that little girl clearly touched my reverse scale. Her unrestrained show-off made me feel very uncomfortable. I don't allow anyone to covet what belongs to me, not even a glance. But I also know that the more you suppress something, the more vigorously it will grow. Take Shun Muhon, for example. That evening, Shun Muhon sent me a message, I have a business dinner tonight, won't be home for dinner. I didn't reply to his message, focusing on my own tasks. At 8 o'clock in the evening, my best friend Bai Yao sent me a photo. The background of the photo appeared to be a business dinner, with a young woman sitting next to Shun Muhon. The girl was clearly dressed up for the occasion. With carefully done makeup and styling, she had a bright and sunny appearance, and her shallow dimples added a touch of cuteness to her overall demeanor. What's going on? Why did your man bring such a young girl to the dinner party? Did you two have a fight? At the same time, the chief assistant also sent a message. The little secretary posted another moment on social media, attending a high-end dinner party. I feel like I'm one step closer to my ideal life. All thanks to having a good guide by my side. The accompanying picture is a selfie of the little secretary, smiling exceptionally happily, with even her two dimples appearing deeper. The $1 million necklace around her neck is particularly dazzling. Standing behind her, willingly acting as the background, Shun Muhon watches her take the selfie, a barely noticeable curve lifting the corner of his mouth, yet a fond gaze in his eyes clearly reveals his inner thoughts. I remember the previous female secretary, who was fired on the spot by Shun Muhon just because she replied to a work message from a colleague during a business dinner. But now, Shun Muhon not only tolerated the little secretary's selfie, but also willingly appeared in it, using his identity as the CEO to boost the little secretary's status. He wasn't unaware that my best friend was at the dinner table, The reason he was so brazen was because during the day, I had smashed his antique vase and torn up the ancient painting he had bought at a high price over that $1 million dog leash. He knew I would definitely find out he had brought another woman to the dinner. And he also knew the little secretary's social media post would be seen by me, yet he still did it and even indulged the little secretary's overstepping, all to get back at me. Unfortunately, when it comes to revenge, even if Shin Moo-hon's entire family were bundled together, they probably still wouldn't measure up to a single one of my fingers. I sent a message to Shin Moo-hon, "Aren't you going to explain the person sitting next to you?" 5 minutes after sending the message. Shin Moo-hon didn't reply. I sent a message to Bai Yao, "Has Shin looked at his phone?" Bai Yao replied instantly. He checked his phone but didn't reply. "Did you confront him?" I sent another message to Shin Moo-hon. Reply, "I know you saw my message." This message still disappeared without a trace. And Shin Moo-hon still didn't reply. "I'll give you one last chance. If I don't see your message within 10 seconds, you'll face the consequences." 10 seconds later, I sent him a photo. Shin Moo-hon replied instantly, "Su Xiaoye, what exactly are you trying to do?" At the same time, Bai Yao's message also came through. "Damn, what did you send to your husband?" His face turned completely pale. I've never seen such a pale face before. It looked like a dead person's. I sent Bai Yao a sly smile emoji. "I'm going to let you watch a good show." The photo I sent to Shin Moo-hon was of an old, yellowed pink envelope, clearly treasured for many years. It was a love letter from Shin Moo-hon's first love during high school. Back then, to save him, the girl pushed him aside but was instantly killed by a speeding dump truck. This love letter was the last thing the girl left him, and he valued it more than his own life. Suddenly, I realized that his new secretary vaguely resembled that first love of his. So, President Shun is playing the substitute lover trope, treating this new secretary as his first love. Seeing that I didn't reply, Shin Moo-hon sent another message, "Don't touch it." This message, down to the punctuation, carried a sense of panic and fear. It seems he's really anxious about this love letter. "Shin Moo-hon, call me." This time he was very obedient and called immediately. His voice was very low. "Don't make a fuss. Yeah, can't we talk about it when I get home?" "Put it on speakerphone." "What exactly do you want to do?" I said put it on speakerphone. Shin Moo-hon had no choice but to comply. "I'm sorry to disturb everyone, but I heard that our CEO Shin brought a newcomer to the dinner today, so I'm calling specifically to confirm." Shin Moo-hon's voice carried a hint of tension. Yeah, things aren't what you think. We're just ordinary colleagues. Don't misunderstand." "Is that so? Which CEO would give $1 million necklace to their secretary?" "Shin Moo-hon, I don't care what your relationship is, but I want you to slap her twice right now. You can refuse, but you'll have to face the consequences." That day, Liu 1111 fled the dinner party in tears, covering her face. All evening, Bai Yao kept frantically sending me messages. "Sweetie, we can't let this drama go to waste. I'll treat you to a meal another day." "Oh my God, your husband really went all out. Those 2 slaps looked painful even to me. Is this little girl not part of your couple's play? This will be all over the place by tomorrow." If I were her, I think I'd want to die. "Sis, can't you teach me your husband taming skills?" I casually replied, "That's simple. If you don't love him, you can naturally handle him." Bai Yao's enthusiasm noticeably waned. "Forget it then. I can't do it." Of course she couldn't. She and her husband had been childhood sweethearts, and after all these years, they still called each other brother and sister in front of others. Everyone around them was thoroughly annoyed by it. "By the way, your husband looked really upset all night today. He won't get into a fight with you when you get back, will he?" "A fight? Who do you think would be fighting whom?" Bai Yao sent a message saying, "Take it easy," and then fell silent. Half an hour later, Shin Moo-hon returned in a flurry. He rushed into the bedroom, grabbed my hand, and glared at me with fiery eyes. "Where are my things?" I just stared straight at him without saying a word. "Su Xiaoye, where are my things?" I continued to stare at him, still not saying a word. After about a minute of stalemate, he gave in and slumped onto the bed. "I've already done what you asked. I've completely lost face tonight. It's lucky she didn't call the police on me. What more do you want from me? Did I make you lose face? Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" An awkward silence fell before Shin Moo-hon finally spoke. "She's just a recent college graduate. There's really nothing between us. What do I have to say for you to believe me, Shin Moo-hon? For me to believe you, it's not about what you say, but what you do. $1,000,000 may not be a huge sum to you, but for an ordinary family, it could be an amount they might never earn in a lifetime. I don't believe you don't understand that. You casually gave $1,000,000 necklace to another woman today. How could you think I wouldn't care? I just saw her crying because she didn't do well at work, and I only wanted to comfort her, so I casually gave her that necklace. I really have no feelings for her. An amount of money that an ordinary family might not earn in a lifetime, and you just casually gave it to her. Do you know what kind of inappropriate thoughts your casual gesture might stir in her? $1,000,000 might mean nothing to you, but do you really not understand how much damage it can do to a young woman who has just entered society? If it weren't for your indulgence, would she have posted that on her social media? Do you think she didn't know I would see it? You took her to the business dinner to replace me. How do you think outsiders will see that? How do you think I feel? Have you considered any of this? She took a selfie at the dinner. And not only did you not stop her, but you willingly became her background. Did you ever think that I would make you lose face at that dinner? When previous secretaries made mistakes, you fired them directly. Why didn't you fire her this time? It was your indulgence that gave her the courage to provoke me. And it was your differential treatment that made her entertain inappropriate thoughts. I gradually uncovered the filth in his heart. I've looked at this secretary's resume. She simply doesn't have the ability to be your secretary. The reason you made her your secretary is because she looks very much like that first love who once saved your life. Shin Moo-hon, you're reminiscing. You're trying to find spiritual solace in a substitute. Wanting to recapture the time you spent with your deceased first love, aren't you? Shin Moo-hon fell silent, his entire aura almost dropping to a negative level. Shin Moo-hon, look at me. He looked up, meeting my gaze directly. Our eyes locking, I cupped his face and pressed a firm kiss to his lips. I love you, now tell me, do you love me? His voice was hoarse. I do. I took out the yellowed envelope from the drawer beside me. I couldn't be part of your past, but I don't want to miss your future anymore. I gently placed that envelope in his hand. I love you, so I won't touch the past you cherish most, but please don't ever make me stop loving you. Okay. Shin Moo-hon's breathing began to grow heavy. He flipped over and pinned me to the bed, biting my neck like a hungry wolf. A tingling electric current spread throughout my body, and my involuntary moan drove him even wilder. Biting my lip, I tightly wrapped my arms around his neck. Shin Moo-hon, this is the first time, and the last. Shin Moo-hon, I promise. There will never be a next time. Liu 1111 became a laughingstock in the company. Usually, all external receptions and business negotiations were scheduled by the assistant department. Whoever was on duty would accompany Shin Moo-hon to various events and assist him. But ever since Liu 1111 was exceptionally promoted to secretary by Shin Moo-hon, this scheduling system disappeared, and Liu 1111 dominated the position long-term. Liu 1111 was absent from work the next day. When the chief assistant presented her absence handling suggestion to Shin Moo-hon, he signed it without hesitation. This made everyone in the company realize that the little secretary's days of being favored had come to an end. Everyone in the company was shrewd, and reading people's expressions was a basic skill. Liu 1111 was transferred out of the assistant department by the chief assistant and assigned to do miscellaneous tasks at the front desk. When Shin Moo-hon was in the company, she was not even allowed to show her face at the front desk. Along with her position, her salary also dropped. The severely reduced income and plummeting status led everyone in the company to speculate about the reasons behind this. Business banquets have always been the exclusive domain of me, the CEO's wife, but now, this newly appointed secretary has actually replaced me, the CEO's wife, in accompanying Shin Moo-hon to these events. Rumors have long been swirling throughout the company. Everyone knows that the CEO's wife doesn't tolerate any sand in her eyes, but no one expected her to be so ruthless. She didn't leave the little secretary any face at all, even forcing the CEO to slap his own secretary in front of everyone. Before this incident, some in the company even speculated that the little secretary might eventually become the next CEO's wife. But after this incident, all the rumors vanished like a puff of smoke. There is only one voice in the company now. And that is that those who covet the position of the president's wife will end up in a miserable state. Liu 1111 became the object of ridicule for everyone in the company, with some employees even discussing loudly in front of her the 2 slaps the president had landed on her face that day. I have always been someone who holds grudges. Since you have coveted what rightfully belongs to me, you must bear the consequences of that covetousness. Thus, under my instruction, the chief assistant submitted an application to the Human Resources Department to dismiss Liu 1111. The HR manager didn't dare utter a word, immediately signed it, and promptly issued the termination report, telling Liu 1111 to get lost. But I still underestimated Liu 1111's skills. I never expected Shen Muhon would actually talk to her about his first love. He had never even shared much about that past with me. When Liu 1111 came to the company the next day to pack her things, she deliberately wore a pale yellow dress and white canvas shoes, looking so pure and innocent that it was almost blinding. When she ran into Shen Muhon in the elevator, holding a storage box, before he could even ask a question, her glistening tears completely shattered his most vulnerable defenses. In the office, Liu 1111, with tear-stained cheeks, stood behind Shen Muhon, looking smugly at the chief assistant as he directly faced Shen Muhon's fury. I pay your salary. And you dare to use the power I gave you against my people? Have you lost your mind? The chief assistant remained neither humble nor arrogant. Mr. Shen, who exactly are your people? Shen Muhon realized he had spoken carelessly and didn't want to dwell on the matter. You're fired, don't come to work tomorrow. Pack your things and leave now. 1111 will take your place. That evening, Shen Muhon flew into a rage at me for the first time. How dare you drive her away? Just because of some baseless suspicion. What are you so afraid of? Are you jealous that she's younger than you? Don't think that just because you're the CEO's wife, you can do whatever you want. Your deliberate targeting has crossed my line. He casually picked up a vase nearby and smashed it at my feet, then turned and walked away. Su Xiaoye, you have truly disappointed me. He slammed the door shut with great force, producing a loud bang that revealed the anger in his heart. I watched him leave with an expressionless face, calmly finding a relatively sharp piece of the broken vase. Gripping that shard of the vase, I directly made a deep cut on my own arm. Blood turned into a fine line, gathering at the tip of the finger, dripping onto the ground, and splashing into a beautiful flower. Shen Muhon, since you've turned hostile, I won't be polite with you either. At the Shen family's old house, my eyes were bloodshot, and my hands were wrapped in thick gauze. Shen's father paced back and forth in the living room, his eyes filled with palpable irritation. Brewing a massive storm, Shen's mother sat beside me, looking at my bandaged arm with heartache, the reproach in her eyes reaching its peak. An hour ago, after having my wound bandaged at the hospital, I went straight to Shen Muhon's parents' house. I straightforwardly told my in-laws that their good son had turned against me for a secretary who resembled his first love. Not only did he openly defend that secretary at the company, but he also took her to a dinner to humiliate me. Just because I fired that secretary, he even directly cut my arm today and yelled at me. As I said these things, my eyes glistened with tears, but I stubbornly refused to let them fall. This sense of grievance only intensified the old couple's anger toward their son. With just one phone call, my father-in-law reached Shen Muhon. I don't care whose skirt you're hiding under right now. Get your ass back here immediately. If you're not in front of me within half an hour, you don't have to come back for the rest of your life. My mother-in-law held my hand, pulling me tightly into her embrace as if afraid I might run away at any moment. She kept comforting me softly, repeatedly assuring me that she would make Shen Muhon apologize today and would never let me suffer the slightest bit of injustice. I leaned in my mother-in-law's arms, sniffling from time to time. But in my heart, I was thinking about how to make the situation even more dramatic. Why would I give up my own advantages to compete fairly with a girl who has no foundation at all? I'm not that foolish. A good businessperson knows how to make the most of the resources at hand to secure victory. I am Shen Muhon's lawful wife, protected by the law, supported wholeheartedly by my in-laws, with inseparable collaborative projects between our families, and the financial strength to outshine a little secretary. Why should I give up these advantages to compete with her over who is younger or who resembles Shen Muhon's deceased first love more? The most crucial point is, my dad is the kind of person who only responds well to being handled with care. If you dare to go against him, He won't rest until he's finished you off. Today, I just wanted Shin Moo-hon to admit defeat. I didn't want to become a widow so soon. So I firmly rejected my dad's offer to step in. The role of nuclear weapons is deterrence. This kind of conventional warfare doesn't require your intervention. If I lose tonight, it will mean there's nothing left in the Shin family worth holding on to. At that point, you can step in, and no matter what you do, I won't stop you. So, my father, sharpening his knife, retreated behind the curtain, turning into a tiger waiting for a signal. Half an hour later, the villa door was pushed open. And Shin Moo-hon walked in with a frosty expression. Seeing him, I couldn't hold back the corner of my mouth for a moment, almost laughing out loud. Shin Moo-hon, that fool, actually brought Liu 1111 back with him. As soon as he entered the door, Shin Moo-hon felt the low pressure in the villa, and the frost on his face dissipated a little. Dad, I'm in a meeting right now. What's so important that you had to call me back at this time? Father-in-law snorted coldly. What kind of meeting are you having at this time? Don't you have time to hold meetings during the day? Do you have to have meetings late at night? Who are you meeting with? Tell me, and I'll verify it. Shin Moo-hon fell silent. He never expected that his offhand remark would be taken so seriously by his father. He hadn't been in a meeting at all. He was just having dinner with Liu 1111, and her social media post completely exposed his whereabouts. I had already shown that post of the two of them dining together to my in-laws, in front of outsiders. His father didn't spare his son any face. Speak up. Why are you suddenly mute? Where's that energy you had when you hit your wife? Hit your wife? Shin Moo-hon's puzzled gaze fell on me, finally noticing the thick bandage on my arm, and his face immediately darkened. Su Xiaoye, when did I ever hit you? You really know how to act, even putting on a show in front of my parents. My eyes were red, tears of humiliation sliding from the corners. Right, you didn't hit me. As soon as these words were spoken, my father-in-law directly slapped Shin Moo-hon across the face. You scoundrel, Yeye is injured like this. Could it be that she harmed herself just to frame you? That slap was a bit too hard. And Shin Moo-hon's nose started bleeding directly. Liu 1111 let out a startled scream, quickly pulling out a tissue to wipe the blood from Shin Moo-hon's nose. My mother-in-law tightened her grip on my hand, and I knew this ambiguous gesture had provoked her. Shin Moo-hon, what are you doing? You may not care about your dignity, but our Shin family still does. Hearing her mother-in-law's scolding, Liu 1111 paused her movements. Only then, belatedly realizing that now was not the time to show affection, she quickly grabbed a tissue and stepped aside, pretending to be obedient. Shin Moo-hon's face flushed with anger. Su Xiaoye, have you had enough of this? Slap. Father Shin slapped him again, and this time, blood started flowing from both of Shin Moo-hon's nostrils. Shut up, you've done such a shameless thing, and you still dare to act tough with your wife. How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch like you? The mother-in-law looked at Liu 1111, who was hiding behind him. What do you mean by bringing her back? Do you want Yeye to step aside for her? Or are you trying to tell me and your dad that you plan to get yourself a new wife? Tears welled up in Liu 1111's eyes as she waved her hands in fear. No, I'm just Mr. Shin's secretary. Please don't misunderstand, uncle and auntie. Shin Moo-hon, disregarding the surging nosebleed, shielded Liu 1111 in front of him. What nonsense are you talking? There's nothing between us. She's just my secretary. I haven't cheated at all. The mother-in-law grabbed the ashtray from the table and threw it. You were even having a candlelit dinner together. Do you think we're blind or stupid? The ashtray missed its target, but Liu 1111, standing behind Shin Moo-hon, still let out a cry of pain. The mother-in-law sneered. Truly a 1,000-year-old fox spirit. Even though it didn't hit you, you still know how to cry out in pain, afraid no man will care for you. Right. Liu 1111's face turned pale, realizing she had overacted, and quickly lowered her head, pretending to be a quail. Dad, Mom, 1111, and I really are just in a superior subordinate relationship. I can guarantee I haven't cheated. We are innocent. Don't listen to Su Xiaoye's nonsense. He grabbed Liu 1111's hand. You don't believe your own son's words. But you'd rather trust an outsider. Since you insist on thinking this way, then there's nothing I can do. After saying that, he grabbed Liu 1111 and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Amidst my father-in-law's furious scolding, I gently but firmly withdrew my hand from my mother-in-law's grasp. Dad, Mom, since Shun Muhon has said this, I don't think there's any need for me to continue with him. There's nothing more to say. I'd rather divorce him. Early the next morning, as the chief assistant walked through the company's entrance, she happened to run into Liu 1111, who was beaming with energy. Upon seeing her former superior, Liu 1111 wore an arrogant expression. Hey! You've already been fired by the company. What are you doing here? If you've offended Mr. Shun, he won't give you another chance to return to the company. As soon as the words were spoken, Liu 1111's expression changed, and she quickly stood up straight. Good morning, madam. I stood before her, looking down at her from above. She is now my authorized representative and the executive vice president of the Su Group. A mere secretary like you has no right to speak sarcastically here. Notify Shun Muhon to come see me in the conference room in 15 minutes, Liu Qiqiao said with a defiant tone. Madam, President Shun has a meeting soon and probably won't have time to see you. Is that so? Then tell him I'm here to discuss divorce. If he doesn't show up within 15 minutes, I'll file for divorce in court tomorrow. In front of everyone in the company, I patted Liu Qiqiao on the shoulder. Keep up the good work. I'll leave the position of the president's wife to you. As for whether you can become the president's wife, that depends on your ability. 10 minutes later, when Shun Muhon appeared in the conference room with a cold face, I had already ordered the HR department to fire the 2 employees who had openly flattered Liu 1111. I wanted everyone to know that offending Shun Muhon's chief assistant could lead to better opportunities at Su Corporation, but offending me, Su Xiaoye, would only result in being shown the door, Su Xiaoye, causing a scene at the company in broad daylight. What exactly are you trying to do? I remained silent, while the assistant beside me directly placed a divorce agreement in front of Shun Muhon. Mr. Shun, you can review the terms above and then sign at the back. Shun Muhon looked at the divorce agreement before him, a flicker of anger flashing in his eyes. Su Xiaoye, what exactly are you trying to do? I pointed to the document in front of him. Divorcing you, can't you understand? I've clearly outlined the property division above. As for the company, our divorce won't affect the collaborative projects between our 2 families, but I'll be taking an additional 5% of the year-end dividends. Just because of Liu 1111, you want to divorce me, Shun Muhon. I made it very clear to you that time. It was the first and the last. Since you care so much about your little secretary, I'll let you have her. Slap. Shun Muhon slammed his hand on the table. Su Xiaoye, I've told you many times, I haven't cheated. What do I have to do for you to believe me? I nodded. I believe you, and I also know that you haven't done anything to betray me for now. Then why are you still insisting on divorcing me? I looked straight into his eyes. Because I think you're tainted. You bought $1 million necklace to appease your secretary. You let her take my place when you attended the banquet. You shared a candlelit dinner with her. And you even brought her along when you returned to the old house. You see every single one of her social media posts. And everyone has been reminding me, lately, more than one person has told you that you're getting too close to her, yet you've turned a blind eye to it all. Shun Muhon, I'm not a fool. Isn't what you're doing a subtle way of telling me to step aside for her? If I were to go everywhere with a man, bring him home, dine with him at a romantic restaurant, and even take him to meet my parents, then tell you that there's nothing between us and we're just ordinary friends, what would you think? I pointed at the divorce agreement in front of him. Hurry up and sign it. I have a prenatal checkup scheduled for this afternoon. And I don't have time to waste here with you. Shun Muhon froze, staring intently into my eyes. You're pregnant? Yes, it's already been 4 to 7 days. Shun Muhon recalled the argument after that dinner party and the wild night we spent together. Don't overthink it. The child isn't yours. A look of shock flashed across Shun Muhon's face. What nonsense are you talking? That night, I said, it's not yours. I cut him off. The child in my belly. I say whose it is, it's whose. In any case, this child has nothing to do with you. He's mine alone. Don't get involved. He'll take my surname from now on. Su Xiaoye. What exactly do you mean by that? I glanced at him sideways. Exactly what I said. Shun Muhon, my child doesn't need a father who can't forget his first love. And certainly doesn't need a dad who enjoys flirting with his secretary. You haven't cheated on me now, but you've allowed her to provoke me. allowed her affection for you and those little actions behind the scenes, you may be able to hold your ground today, but who knows if you'll betray me in the future. Shin Moo-hon, I don't dare to gamble, and I don't want to gamble either. Rather than clearing the weeds when the vegetables are about to ripen, it's better to nip the conditions for the weeds to sprout from the very beginning. This child, I will raise alone, he will only be my child, and he has nothing to do with you. I've said it before, you're already tainted, and I don't want you anymore, Moo-han Shin. Let's get a divorce. In the end, Moo-han Shin still did not sign the divorce agreement. As she walked out of the company's main entrance, Liu Chichi hurried after her. Madam, please wait a moment, she stood before me. Neither humble nor arrogant. May I speak with you? Just say it here, I'm very busy and don't have time to listen to your nonsense. There was a shadow in her eyes. Madam, I think you've misunderstood. There's really nothing between me and Mr. Shun. Stop. I cut her off directly. If you just want to talk to me about this meaningless nonsense, then I don't want to hear it. Liu 1111, everyone has their own little thoughts. But your little thoughts are blatantly displayed on the outside, and that really bothers me. You wear that necklace every day, no matter what style of clothes you wear, you use it as an accessory. You just want to constantly remind those around you that in Shin Moo-hon's eyes, you are superior, a special existence different from everyone else. You post about your daily work with him on your social media, showing off how close you are to him and that you enjoy certain privileges others don't have. You know perfectly well that there are situations where your presence is inappropriate, yet you still don't have the sense to leave. It's because you're testing how far his feelings for you have actually gone. If you didn't have these intentions, you wouldn't be making bold claims in the company break room with your so-called good sisters, bragging about your strategies for winning over the CEO. Liu 1111's expression changed. How do you know about that? I sighed, because I'm still the CEO's wife, and they're all more than willing to tell me what they've heard rather than keep your secrets for you. So what? You're still going to divorce Mr. Shin now? Has he signed the divorce agreement? A glint of determination flashed in Liu 1111's eyes. So what? He'll sign it sooner or later. Can you guarantee that if I divorce him, you'll definitely take my place? What can you do to help him? Do you have a strong family background to form a powerful alliance with him? Do you have extensive connections to help him expand his market? Do you have a vast network to help him make connections? But I resemble his deceased first love, and I can help him retrieve those beautiful memories from the past. I couldn't help but laugh. So you're just a substitute, and you know you're actually a fake that he'll lose interest in at any moment, right? If Shin Moo-hon can protect you, then let him protect you. I'm not some kind-hearted saint either. I not only hold grudges, but I also can't wait as long as 10 years. Usually, I don't take too long to seek revenge. She looked wary. What do you want to do? If you dare lay a hand on me, Mr. Shin won't let you off. Don't worry, I just had your story spread around, making you completely infamous in this industry. I believe Mr. Shin will soon feel the pressure and then transfer you out of the assistant department, casually assigning you a sinecure to keep you around, or simply be ruthless and fire you outright. After all, as you said, you're just a fake. If you were really his first love, I might not stand a chance. But you're nothing more than a substitute he uses to reminisce about the past. How much weight do you think a counterfeit holds in his heart? Oh, by the way, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you. I took out my phone and played a video for her. This is the dog you've been raising for several years. And you even hired someone specifically to walk it for you. Right, just now, my driver accidentally ran it over and killed it. You should be receiving compensation from my driver for your dog very soon. I'm sorry, but please accept my condolences and try to take it easy. After saying that, I turned and left, leaving Liu 1111 crouched at the company entrance, breaking down in tears. I never expected Bai Yao to take such drastic action, actually digging up Liu 1111's past scandals. She was forced to drop out of school due to pregnancy and started working in nightclubs after having an abortion. At the nightclub, she coincidentally met a university professor and, by becoming his secret lover, managed to obtain a university diploma. After her contract with the university professor expired, she got involved with the director of a talent market, smoothly secured an internal interview slot at the company, and successfully entered the company as Shin Moo-hon's secretary, thanks to her resemblance to Shin Moo-hon's first love. With such a rich resume, how could Bai Yao miss the chance to vent her anger for her best friend? In just 1 week, Liu 1111's series of experiences were spread far and wide by Bai Yao and her husband. Almost everyone knew that the Shun family's son had injured his own wife and forced her to divorce him. All for the sake of a worthless woman. Shun's father and mother could no longer sit still, especially after learning that I was pregnant. They immediately called Shun Muhon back to the old house and subjected him to a round of family discipline. As soon as Liu 1111 arrived at the company early the next morning, she received a dismissal notice from the Human Resources Department. Liu 1111 refused to accept this reality and made a scene, demanding to see Shun Muhon. However, Shun Muhon directly had the security personnel escort her out and, in the process, also took back the $1 million necklace she was wearing around her neck. That evening, Shun Muhon's parents brought him to our home to apologize and beg for my forgiveness, only to be met with a harsh scolding from my father. Now that you know my daughter is pregnant, you suddenly remember to come and apologize. What were you doing earlier? He's your son. And I don't believe you, as parents can't even control your own son. How dare you let some lowly secretary trample all over my daughter? You really don't take our Su family seriously, do you? If she were your son's first love who saved his life and came back from the dead, I might have accepted it, but you actually let a fake flaunt herself in front of my daughter. Do you think our family is too easy to bully? If my daughter doesn't divorce your little bastard today, she might end up as the mistress of your precious Shun family's new favorite tomorrow. Our Su family can't possibly measure up to your Shun family, so just let my daughter go like she's nothing. The child in my daughter's belly isn't from your Shun family. My grandson doesn't need your son rushing to play father. Shun's father and mother were embarrassed by my father's exposure of their hidden intentions, their faces flushed with shame. Yet, for the sake of their grandson, they had no choice but to swallow their pride. Hoping I could forgive Shun Muhon once and give the Shun family another chance, unfortunately, when I offered him respect, he didn't want it. Now, I have no intention of giving him another chance. Shun Muhon pestered me for several months, but seeing that I was determined, he had no choice but to agree to the divorce and obediently signed the divorce agreement. On the day we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to collect the divorce certificate, Bai Yao told me about Liu 1111's recent situation. She hooked up with another big boss in another city, but the boss didn't keep things under wraps well enough, leading to Liu 1111 being discovered by the original wife, who directly disfigured her. After that, Liu 1111 completely disappeared from the scene. You see, a proper first love should be as good as dead. After 10 months of pregnancy and a smooth delivery, I gave birth to a boy. In the hospital room, Mr. and Mrs. Shun held a photo of Shun Muhon as a child, looking at the little pink bundle that seemed to have been carved from the same mold, and were so moved that tears streamed down their faces. Seeing that the elderly couple had gotten a taste of sweetness, my father forcefully drove the child's grandparents out of the room, causing Mr. Shun, who was eagerly longing for a grandson, to fly into a rage right there in the hospital corridor. He gave his own son a good beating, nearly sending Shun Muhon back to the hospital. After that, Shun Muhon and his family of 3 would come to my house every few days, and even though they were turned away countless times, they never seemed to tire of it. When Su Susu was a little over a year old, she started walking and learned to call for her grandparents and dad. I didn't refuse the grandparents' request to visit the child, as having more people care for Su Susu was never a bad thing. Every time Su Susu called out Grandpa, Grandma, in her sweet, childish voice, the elderly couple would scold Shun Muhon harshly. Every time Su Susu called him Daddy, Shun Muhon would break down on the spot. Because I told Su Susu that this wasn't her father and not to call him that, Shun Muhon begged me countless times to remarry him, saying that Su Susu couldn't grow up without a father, but I refused every time. In a relationship, forgiving someone once is like laying the foundation for countless future hurts. I'm not in the habit of handing my heart over to someone else. Just as I told him before, that was the first time, and it was also the last. Now, I no longer need his belated apology. Next. Watch the next story. Miss Lin, your customized Restart Life service is ready for you. We would like to inform you that 1 month after your wedding, we will arrange for a professional to provide one-on-one guidance for your work. Okay, Got it. Lin Jiqing hung up the phone expressionlessly. Miss Lin, your phoenix crown is ready. Please follow me this way. Lin Jiqing nodded and obediently followed the service staff over. In the hall, Jin Yenza had just arrived, panting as he ran over. Qing, I'm sorry. Something came up at the exhibition. I'm late. The guilt in the man's eyes didn't seem feigned. As soon as he entered the room, he tightly wrapped his arms around Lin Jiqing's waist, as if afraid she might melt away if he hadn't revealed the red marks on his neck. Jin Yenza didn't notice Lin Jiqing's stiffness. He pulled her along to introduce. Come and see the phoenix crown I designed for you. Don't worry if you don't like this one. I've designed 99 other phoenix crowns for you. The girls working in the shop watched them excitedly, their eyes filled with envy. Their love is truly legendary. From the lowest of lows to the highest of highs, Jin Yenza proposed to Lin Jiqing at his own art exhibition right after achieving fame at 23. At 25, when Lin Jiqing was injured and hospitalized, Jin Yenza was willing to drain his own blood just to save her. At 28, he gave up all his work. Paid hundreds of millions in compensation, just to design a phoenix crown for Lin Jiqing, making her the most beautiful bride. He's truly the best man in the world. I'm totally obsessed with them. Listening to the girl's words, Lin Jiqing curled her lips into a mocking smile. Yeah, how could such a good man change his heart? They first met when they were 7 years old. He made a clay doll for her when she got lost. At 18, they met again, to confess his feelings to her. He traveled to 3 cities overnight just to buy her favorite Osmanthus cakes. By 23, he had achieved success and didn't hesitate to spend all his money to buy a house for himself. But just 3 months ago, Lin Jiqing's younger sister, Lin Jian, came to stay at their home for a few days. In just a few short days, he got involved with Lin Jian. Sofa, kitchen, balcony, garden, everywhere is their paradise for making love. The moment the phone rang, Jin Yenza's eyes, which had been sweetly gazing at her, instantly darkened. Brother Yenza, I sprained my ankle today just to wear black stockings for you. Will you come see me? Qing, something happened at the exhibition. I need to go check it out right away. Lin Jiqing glanced at his phone, and the moment she saw the message, she felt as if her blood had frozen. She instinctively grabbed Jin Yenza's hand. Yenza, you said you would stay with me the first time I wore this phoenix crown. A flicker of hesitation flashed in Jin Yenza's eyes, but he still brushed her hand away. Qing, we still have time, don't we? Lin Jiqing lowered her hand, smiled faintly, and let Jin Yenza leave. She gently caressed the exquisitely crafted phoenix crown. The phoenix crown was breathtakingly beautiful, adorned with pearls and jade. It was hard to imagine how much thought Jin Yenza had put into it and how many craftsmen he had hired to create such a masterpiece. The jasmine flower at the very center of the phoenix crown is in full bloom. But what she loves most is the begonia. Jasmine is the flower that Lin Jian likes. Lin Jiqing looked at the phoenix crown, and amidst the constant urging of the crowd to try it on, she flung the crown to the ground, with a crisp, loud crash. The exquisitely beautiful phoenix crown was shattered into pieces. Lin Jiqing looked at the fragments on the ground and felt a bit of relief in her heart. Send the remaining 99 to my home. After saying this, Lin Jiqing turned and walked away without looking back, returning home in the evening. I happened to see Jin Yenza, who had claimed to be busy with his exhibition, tenderly massaging Lin Jian's ankle. Upon seeing her return, he immediately let go of his hand. Qing, why are you back so early? I finished the exhibition matters ahead of schedule and came back early. I happened to see Jian had sprained her ankle, so I was just taking care of her. As he spoke, he walked straight over and gently stroked Lin Jiqing's beautiful hair. As Jin Yenza entered, a strong scent of stone orchid flowers rushed straight into Lin Jiqing's mind. Lin Jiqing's heart ached so much she nearly fainted. She closed her eyes for a moment, glancing at the sofa out of the corner of her eye, the sofa she had carefully chosen just so Jin Yenza would have a comfortable place to come home to. The tassels on the sofa were now twisted and crooked, with many water stains on them, and in the corner, there was a tattered, damp black stocking. Does Jin Yenza think she's that foolish? Lin Jiqing took a deep breath, suppressing the piercing pain in her heart. She only had 1 month left before leaving, and she didn't want any complications at this time. Understood, trying on the phoenix crown has made me a bit tired, so I'll go upstairs to rest first." Upon hearing this, Jin Yenza looked at her with a face full of concern, almost wanting to call over every family doctor. It was only after Lin Jiqing repeatedly refused that he reluctantly set aside his concerns for her. She fled upstairs as if escaping, and after just a few minutes of calming her emotions, she was about to go out to get some water when she heard a woman's muffled groan outside the door. Through the crack in the door, she saw a scene she would never forget for the rest of her life. Jin Yenza and Lin Jian were tightly entangled together like two vines. "You little temptress, Qingqing is still here. And you're already so impatient." Outside the door, Jin Yenza's lustful voice reached her ears. "What are you afraid of? Wouldn't it be better if she knew? You've always loved me. She's just a substitute." Upon hearing this, Lin Jiqing felt her blood run cold. What did he mean by just a substitute? Could it be that all the love she had received was because of Lin Jian? Jin Yenza nervously glanced upstairs. Lin Jiqing quickly hid behind the door, trying to muffle the frantic beating of her heart. Jin Yenza, seeing nothing unusual, glared fiercely at Lin Jian and lowered his voice. "Stop with the sweet talk. So what if I loved you first? You looked down on me for being a poor boy back then. Only Jiling was willing to accept me and stay by my side all the way to today. Now, you only deserve to be a secret lover." But seeing the aggrieved look in Lin Jian's eyes, he frowned and refrained from provoking her further. He pulled out a phoenix crown from the corner. In the dim light, Lin Jiqing recognized at a glance that it was identical to her own phoenix crown, except that in the center was a crabapple flower. "This phoenix crown was specially made for Jiqing after I halted work for a year and sought out many craftsmen. However, she doesn't know I had two made. This one is for you." "Thank you, Yenza." Lin Jiqing's excitement was palpable. She eagerly placed it on her head, wearing it for a long while before reluctantly taking it off. "Why is it the crabapple flower that Lin Jiqing likes? I prefer jasmine." Lin Jian held the phoenix crown in her hands, and upon seeing the begonia flower in the center, she suddenly grew dissatisfied. Jin Yenza frowned, forcefully took the phoenix crown, and placed it on her head. "I did this to make you understand. Don't even think about competing for favor. You're not worthy. Even if I give you this phoenix crown, you'll still be someone who can't be seen in the light. I can live without you, but without Jiqing, I'd go mad." Lin Jian didn't say anything, just pursed her lips. Whatever she did, Jin Yenza grunted, pressing her down, and began a new round of conquest. The wedding photo hanging in the living room flickered between light and shadow with their movements. Lin Jiqing gently closed the bedroom door and took off the ring from her hand. "Jin Yenza, whether I was a substitute or not back then, you have betrayed me now. I won't play this game with you anymore." The next day, she was awakened by a soft call. Opening her eyes, she saw Jin Yenza wearing an apron, looking at her gently. "Qingqing, why didn't you cover yourself with a blanket last night? You're always so careless. What would you do without me?" As he spoke, he gently tapped her nose and ruffled her hair. "I've made breakfast for you. Come and eat quickly. After you finish, I'll make you some medicine. Don't catch a cold again." As he spoke, he was about to reach out and pick up Lin Jiqing, but Lin Jiqing immediately noticed the hickey on his neck, and there were even quite a few marks under his shirt collar. Feeling a bit nauseated, she pushed Jin Yenza away and walked over to the dining table on her own. "Even the flavors I used to love suddenly taste as bland as chewing on wax. Baby, I was wrong yesterday for leaving you alone at the jewelry store. How about this? There's an auction today, and I'll take you. You can have anything you want." Lin Jiqing gave a non-committal nod, allowing Jin Yenza to enthusiastically hold her and pick out clothes for her. At the auction, Jin Yenza waved his hand generously, buying everything that caught Lin Jiqing's eye. In the second half, Lin Jiqing turned her head and suddenly realized Jin Yenza wasn't beside her. She searched for a long time outside before finally spotting him in the corridor near the backstage area, along with Lin Jian. "Your foot isn't even healed yet. What are you running out here for, still wearing so little?" Jin Yenza's tone was fierce, his eyes not filled with concern but with overwhelming possessiveness. "Isn't this to give you a surprise, brother?" Lin Jian giggled coquettishly. She was wearing a red strapless dress today, subtly brushing her chest against Jin Yenza's arm. Jin Yenza cleared his throat lightly, carrying her into the venue. The two sat closely next to Lin Jiqing. I really wanted to come and see, so I asked Brother Yenza to pick me up at the entrance, Sister Jiqing. You won't be angry, will you? Lin Jian blinked her eyes, looking innocent. Before Lin Jiqing could say anything, Jin Yenza couldn't stand it any longer. He frowned and pushed away Lin Jian, who had leaned in close. All right, Jiqing has been in a bad mood lately, so don't upset her. These words still caught the attention of a few people. These two sisters look quite alike. I wonder why Mr. Jin didn't want the other one back then. The teasing voices of the others reached Lin Jiqing's ears. Does it look alike? Could this be the reason Jin Yenza treats her as a substitute? She touched her own face and turned to look at Lin Jian, but she heard a muffled groan from a woman. Turning to look, she discovered Jin Yenza's hand was inside Lin Jian's skirt. Lin Jian's face was flushed, and she gave her a provocative glance. Jin Yenza seemed to notice that something was off with Lin Jiqing, but his hands didn't stop moving. Instead, he turned his head and gently asked Lin Jiqing, "The painting on the stage is quite nice. Let's buy it." Lin Jiqing felt utterly disgusted. She hadn't even seen any painting, and before she could say anything, Jin Yenza waved his hand and directly bought it for her. But just as he was about to take it, another hand from the side snatched it away first. "This painting is so beautiful, I want it too. Brother Yenza, give it to me." "Nonsense, this is for Jiqing." Jin Yenza scolded Lin Jian with a dark expression, causing her eyes to instantly redden. She shot them a resentful glance and left directly. Lin Jiqing had no idea what drama the two of them were about to act out next and had no intention of paying them any attention. She simply focused on looking at the auction items, but suddenly received a notification of a follow. Lin Jian often shares her luxurious life on social media platforms, although she is a blogger who doesn't show her face. She still has a small reputation. Men, just a little trick and they're under control. It was accompanied by a screenshot of a text message. "Brother, the little bunny is waiting for you in the parking lot." It was accompanied by a photo in which Lin Jian, dressed in a bunny girl lingerie, looked at the camera and flaunted her impressive figure. Jin Yenza only replied with one sentence, "Little temptress, I'll come and deal with you right away." Jin Yenza suddenly stood up beside her, apologetically patting Lin Jiqing's hair. "Jiqing, my agent needs me for something, so I can't stay with you. I have to leave first." With that, he left without looking back. By the time the auction ended, it was already dark and raining. Lin Jiqing had no interest in waiting for Jin Yenza and went straight to the parking lot to call a car. At this time in the past, Jin Yenza would always be by her side, shielding her from the rumbling thunder in her ears. But now he is in the car Lin Jiqing gave him, entangled with another woman. "No, this is my sister's lipstick. It's so cold. Don't be so delicate. You clearly love it." The windows were completely blacked out, so she couldn't see what was happening inside. But the two sentences she had just heard made her sick to her stomach. All she wanted was to run, to get away from this place, on a rainy night, unable to hail a taxi. She walked for over an hour in the pouring rain before finally reaching home. Perhaps it was because she had experienced too much that day, but as soon as she collapsed onto the sofa, soaked to the bone, she lost consciousness. Late at night, she was awakened by Jin Yenza, who had returned covered in dust and exhaustion. "Qing, you have a fever." The worry on the man's face seemed genuine, but the perfume on him was also overwhelmingly strong. Hermes UN Jardin sur le Nil. Lin Jian's favorite scent. Lin Jiqing felt a wave of nausea and couldn't help vomiting on Jin Yenza's suit. Yet, despite his usual fastidiousness, he said nothing and anxiously called for a doctor. The next day, Lin Jiqing found herself lying in bed, with Jin Yenza slumped by the bedside, dark circles under his eyes. As soon as she stirred, Jin Yenza woke up and reached out to touch her forehead. "Why is it still so hot?" Jin Yenza looked anxious and quickly called the doctor. "Don't worry. Qing, the doctor will be here soon. I'll stay right here with you." But before long, his phone rang with a special alert. His eyes flickered as he turned his back to Lin Jiqing and opened his phone. "Qing, something came up at the art exhibition. I have to go over there. The doctor will be here soon. And I'll be back to keep you company in a little while." He looked at Lin Jiqing lying pale on the bed, his eyes wavering slightly, but he gritted his teeth and left anyway. Lin Jiqing didn't say anything and also opened her phone. Sure enough, Lin Jian posted a new update. "This painting is so annoying, it even cut my hand." Luckily, my boyfriend was clever and bought a bunch of things for me to tear up in advance, otherwise, I wouldn't have let him have it. The accompanying images were of her injured finger, the painting that Lin Jiqing had taken a liking to yesterday, and another set of lingerie. Now, the painting was already torn to pieces. There were also a large number of paintings and jewelry scattered haphazardly on the floor in the picture, exactly the things Jin Yenza had bought for her at yesterday's auction. She forced herself to go and take a look at the place where these items were stored at home, and sure enough, they were all fake. Lin Jiqing's heart felt as if it had been struck hard. In everyone's eyes, she was never the favored one. Her family didn't love her, treating her as if she were invisible. She once thought Jin Yenza would be her final destination, but now she realizes it was all a lie. Despite her high fever, she stumbled toward the innermost cabinet she treasured. Inside the cabinet was the statue that Jin Yenza had given her when he first confessed his feelings. At that time, Jin Yenza was just a poor, freshly graduated student, struggling even to pay rent and barely making ends meet by taking on odd jobs here and there. Yet, he still found the time to carefully craft a statue that was uniquely hers. On the day of the first snow, Jin Yenza held this statue and made his 18th confession to Lin Jiqing. Lin Jiqing was moved by his persistence and thought she was finally going to have a home. They fell in love on the day of the first snow. Lin Jiqing opened the cabinet and exchanged a glance with the statue inside. The statue's eyes held a hint of calmness and tenderness, as if it were still the Lin Jiqing who had just fallen in love. With endless hope in her eyes, Lin Jiqing let out a mocking laugh, unsure whether she was laughing at herself or at Jin Yenza. With a swift motion, she hurled the statue to the ground, and the clay figure instantly shattered into pieces. But beneath the clay, a layer of jade was hidden. Suddenly, the word substitute echoed in Lin Jiqing's ears, and she began frantically tearing away the clay as if driven mad, finally revealing the true appearance of that jade statue. It was the face of Lin Jian. Lin Jiqing took a few steps back in disbelief. She had thought it was just pillow talk between them, never imagining it could actually be true. She frantically recalled that period of time, remembering how Lin Jian brought back some exquisitely crafted handmade items and mocked how tacky they were in front of their parents. She remembered the expression on Jin Yenza's face when he saw her standing behind Lin Jian. She once thought he had fallen in love with her at first sight, but that was clearly the look of someone spotting prey. She recalled Lin Jian's sneering expression after she and Jin Yenza got together. It turned out that even their beginning was shrouded in Lin Jian's shadow. She wanted to run. She wanted to leave this place. She couldn't wait another month. She wanted to go now. Just then, Jin Yenza returned. He looked at Lin Jiqing standing barefoot in the living room, a puzzled expression on his face. "Qingqing, why are you up? Hasn't the doctor arrived yet?" Lin Jiqing didn't answer. She hurried past, not wanting to see the man before her, but she hadn't gone far when a wave of dizziness washed over her, and she fainted straight away. When she woke up again, Jin Yenza was by her bedside, nodding off bit by bit. "Qingqing, you're finally awake. You have no idea how scared I was the moment you fainted." Lin Jiqing silently withdrew her hand, but just as she was about to get up and change her clothes, Jin Yenza grabbed her hand again. "Qingqing, I know you're angry with me, but we're about to get married, and there are no grudges between husband and wife overnight. I'm not angry with you." This was the first time Lin Jiqing had spoken to Jin Yenza in the past 2 days. She looked at him calmly, feeling neither sorrow nor joy in her heart. Upon hearing that she wasn't angry, Jin Yenza happily took Lin Jiqing's hand and started talking about going home. "Qingqing, Dad said to come home tomorrow night, and Mom mentioned she wants to give you the things Grandma left for you as our wedding gift." Lin Jiqing, who had initially intended to refuse, held back her words. She didn't want to go back and face that family, but she knew this was her only chance to get Grandma's belongings. Grandma was the only one in that cold household who had ever been kind to her. When she was just born, the family business happened to be in decline and nearly went bankrupt. Her parents considered her a jinx and paid no attention to her. As a little girl, she almost burned to death at home on a night of heavy rain. It was her grandmother who took her to the hospital for treatment and saved her life. Later, they adopted Lin Jian, and as soon as Lin Jian arrived, the family's business miraculously improved. From then on, her parents paid even less attention to her, turning a blind eye as Lim Jian bullied her. only her grandmother was her sole comfort. But later, her grandmother also passed away, and she was left with only herself again. Lin Jiqing silently persuaded herself in her heart, "Go ahead, it's only a month anyway, and then everything will be over." She forced a stiff smile at Jin Yenza and agreed to go to the Lin family for dinner the next day. The next day, when they arrived at the Lin family home, her parents were just as cold as before. Mr. Lin adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose and snorted coldly. "Do you have the nerve to come back? What kind of older sister are you? Your younger sister sprained her ankle and just wanted to go to an auction. And you didn't even think to take her." Lin Jiqing simply lowered her head in silence. She knew that in this family, no matter what she said, it would be wrong, over time. She didn't even know how to communicate with her parents anymore, and could only hide behind her silence. "Alright, Dad, it's not often that sister comes back, so don't be angry, okay?" Lin Jian held her father's arm and acted coquettishly. The stern expression on her father's face softened, and a smile appeared as Lin Jian coaxed him. "Exactly. Look at your sister, she doesn't even know to come back more often to spend time with her parents. How unfilial." Mother Lin adjusted the shawl on her shoulders, looking at Lin Jiqing with a reproachful expression, and her fiancé-to-be, Jin Yenza, merely cast a pitying glance at her before stepping forward to busy himself with pleasing the Lin family's parents. Lin Jiqing looked at the joyful scene inside the room and suddenly felt a bit confused about why she was standing there. At the dinner table, as always, there were spicy dishes that Lim Jian loved. Lin Jiqing pursed her lips without saying a word, casually picking up a few bites of non-spicy dishes to chew on. "Ching, if you don't like it, I'll make it for you when we get back. Just bear with it for now." Jin Yenza looked at her with concern, as if his eyes were filled with her. Lin Jiqing sighed and forced a slight smile. "I'm fine. During this time, I've been staying at my sister and brother-in-law's house, and I've caused you a lot of trouble. Let me serve you some soup." Lin Jian stood up, playfully winked, delighting Lin's parents, then turned to Lin Jiqing with a cold glare. "Look at your sister, how filial she is. Why don't you go with her?" Lin Jiqing had no choice, but she didn't say anything. She silently stood up and followed Lin Jian into the kitchen. As soon as they entered the kitchen, Lin Jian transformed into a different person, looking at her with a mocking gaze. "Lin Jiqing, since you already knew about me and brother Yenza, why don't you just leave quickly? That way you can at least keep your dignity." Lin Jiqing remained silent. Of course, she knew she should leave, but why would she discuss this with Lin Jian? She silently walked to the kitchen and began ladling the soup. Seeing that she was being ignored, Lin Jian grabbed Lin Jiqing's hand unhappily. "What are you pretending for? Don't you know how close Jin Yenza and I are?" As she spoke, she took out her phone and sent all their photos to Lin Jiqing in one go. Lin Jiqing looked at their various postures, her heart aching as she closed her eyes for a moment, but Lin Jian wouldn't let her go, gripping her hand tightly. In the process, she accidentally knocked over the pot of soup, spilling it all over Lin Jiqing's arm. Lin Jiqing endured the pain without making a sound, only to see Lin Jian holding her arm, which had only a few red spots, and crying out loudly in pain. The three people outside the door rushed in upon hearing Lin Jian's cry of pain. Lin's parents pushed Lin Jiqing aside. "It's not my sister's fault, she didn't mean to spill the soup on me." Lin Jian looked at Lin Jiqing with a provocative glance. Lin Jiqing endured the pain and explained with a pale face, "It wasn't me." "Alright, Ching, don't make excuses." Jin Yenza directly cut her off, as if convinced that she was that malicious, not to mention the Lin family parents, who were practically ready to devour Lin Jiqing. Amidst the clamor, Lin Jiqing endured the pain and quickly made her way to the restroom, rinsing her scalded arm with cold water. After barely managing to tend to it, when she emerged again, everyone was still bustling around Lin Jian. She knew now wasn't the right time to bring it up, but if she didn't speak now, she would miss her chance. "Dad, Mom, that grandmother's belongings." Before she could finish her sentence, Father Lin suddenly turned around and slapped her. "You've harmed your sister like this, and you're still thinking about taking things. You beast, if you hadn't come back, our whole family would have been healthy and well. As soon as you returned, something like this happened. You're a jinx." Mother Lin also waved her arms over to push and shove her, even poking her manicured nails into her freshly scalded arm. She couldn't help but let out a muffled groan from the beating. Jin Yenza heard the commotion overhear and glanced over, a flicker of pity flashing in his eyes, but he quickly turned back, looking worriedly at Lin Jian, who was lying on the sofa and making a big fuss, bypassing everyone's gaze. Lin Jian glanced at her with a hint of smugness. Lin Jiqing helplessly supported her own arm, and when she looked up again, only clarity remained in her eyes. I want my grandmother's keepsake. Once you give it to me, I can disappear from your lives forever. Upon hearing this, everyone fell silent for a moment. Qingqing, stop messing around. Jian is injured right now. We can talk about everything else later. Jin Yenza finally stopped pretending to be dead and quickly walked over, but if he had just tilted his head slightly, he would have seen Lin Jiqing's reddened arm. He simply chose to turn a blind eye. Fine. As if we ever cared about having a daughter like you. Mother Lin pulled out a tattered iron box and threw it straight into her arms. Take it and get out of here right now. Don't ever come back. Lin Jiqing held the box and walked toward the door without a moment's hesitation. Qingqing, Jin Yenza called out to her anxiously. Yet in the end, he still stayed by Lin Jian's side. Lin Jiqing was no longer sad, clutching the box tightly. She silently walked to the hospital to have her burns treated. As the nurse tended to her wounds, she looked at her with a heart full of sympathy. How did this happen to the little girl? It must be so painful. Her family would be heartbroken if they knew. You must be more careful in the future. The nurse's chattering voice brought a touch of warmth to Lin Jiqing, but she had long been without a family. In the evening, Lin Jiqing returned to her room, on her phone. Lin Jian posted another update. Ouch, I got burned. It hurts so much. Luckily, my family is here with me. The accompanying photo showed the four of them with their hands stacked together, looking like a real family of four. Meanwhile, Lin Jiqing was alone in her room, holding onto that metal box, nursing her wounds all by herself. For the next few days, Jin Yenza did not return, but a message from Lin Jian came through. After spying on my life for so long, why haven't you gotten lost yet? Seeing this message, Lin Jiqing's pupils contracted sharply. Before she could react, messages from the other side came flooding in one after another. Your parents don't love you, and your fiancé loves me too. Do you know how passionate he is in my bed? He told me he's long been fed up with your lifeless performance in bed. Sister, you're really foolish. Can't you see that my social media posts were all aimed at you? It's truly unimaginable that someone as unloved and pitiful as you still clings on shamelessly. Be careful, or the groom might not even show up at your wedding in the end. No wonder the comment section under Lin Jian's Weibo is always uniformly aligned. Without even a single dissenting opinion, she could be so scheming just to make herself leave. That evening, Jin Yenza finally returned, looking at Lin Jiqing's hand wrapped in bandages. He showed heartache and self-blame. Qingqing, I'm sorry, that day was just too chaotic. I should have gone to the hospital with you. In the past, Lin Jiqing might have endured the heartache and pretended not to care upon seeing him like this. But now, she withdrew her hand abruptly, her expression cold. What's the use of saying all this now? Hearing her words, Jin Yenza frowned slightly in disagreement. Qingqing, how could you throw a tantrum with me? You hurt Jian, and I stayed to take care of her, helping you win over the family. All for your sake. Even more, you actually ran off early. That really shouldn't have happened. Upon hearing this, Lin Jiqing was so angry she almost laughed, pushing Jin Yenza's embrace away forcefully. I told you it wasn't me. Why won't you believe me? Jin Yenza looked at Lin Jiqing in disbelief, as if he didn't know her at all. Qingqing, it's one thing to be jealous, but how can you lie now? As he spoke, as if realizing his tone was a bit harsh, he took a deep breath and placed his hands on Lin Jiqing's shoulders. Qingqing, maybe you're not thinking clearly because you're injured. Let's talk about this another time. Jin Yenza wiped his face, showing an apologetic smile as he took out a small box from behind and handed it to Lin Jiqing. Qingqing, I know tomorrow is your birthday, but something came up at the art exhibition, and I have to go check it out tomorrow. I'm giving you the gift in advance, after the wedding. I'll come back personally to celebrate your birthday with you. Okay. In the dim light, Jin Yenza didn't notice the fleeting mockery in her eyes. He opened the box, revealing the hairpin inside, excitedly introducing it to Lin Jiqing. Qingqing, I designed this myself. I know you don't usually like to wear hair accessories, but a girl may not like them, yet she should still have them. I used 99 small diamonds on this, ensuring you'll be the most dazzling little princess in the crowd." Lin Jiqing took out the hair clip and played with it in her hands for a moment. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and it was clear that Jin Yenza had put a lot of thought into it. "What's the use of putting in more effort? He has long since changed his heart." She forced a smile. "Yenza, thank you. I really like this gift." Early the next morning, Jin Yenza left. He didn't know that after he woke up, Lin Jiqing was immediately disturbed by the sound of a message. "Don't you want to see how you lost? Come to know, 18 Qingbin Road, all the answers are there." Lin Jian sent such a provocative message early in the morning. After hesitating for a moment, she still decided to go. Upon arriving at the location, Lin Jiqing got out of the taxi. "I saw an open-air cocktail party." The banner read, "Celebrating the release of Miss Lin Jian's work." Among the guests were not only Jin Yenza, Lin Jian's parents, relatives, and friends, but even Jin Yenza's parents and friends, those who kept calling her sister-in-law, were gathered around Lin Jiqing, chatting animatedly, and Mr. and Mrs. Jin, who once knew she had even been kidnapped for Jin Yenza, were fawningly pulling Mr. and Mrs. Lin, constantly praising Lin Jian. "Jian is truly both talented and beautiful. I wonder who will be so fortunate to marry her in the future." "Exactly. And our Yenza has now achieved success and fame. Aren't they a perfect match made in heaven?" Watching the fawning expressions of Mr. and Mrs. Jin, Lin Jiqing felt a wave of disgust rising from the depths of her heart. "Do you still remember when Jin Yenza first began to show his talent? And he was resented by rivals who even went so far as to hire people to kidnap him. It was she who stood in front of Jin Yenza, blocking those people, and even risked her own life, willingly following the kidnappers." At that time, what did Jin Yenza's parents say? "Oh, they said, if it weren't for you, Jin Yenza wouldn't be where he is today. If he ever lets you down in the future, we'll be the first to hold him accountable." They even forced a silver bracelet into her hand, saying their family was poor and this was all they could give to their future daughter-in-law. Now, they were holding a jade bracelet of excellent quality, insisting on giving it to Lin Jian. "Jian, we originally intended this bracelet for our future daughter-in-law. Now that we've taken a liking to you, we're giving it to you. Please don't overthink it." Mrs. Jin, her face creased with wrinkles, smiled in a worldly and calculating manner, wishing Lin Jian would become her daughter-in-law the very next second. And Jin Yenza's brothers were even winking and calling her sister-in-law one after another. "Brother Jin, you gave Lin Jiqing's previous drafts to sister-in-law and even let her publish them. Could this lead to any trouble in the future?" Jin Yenza's friend took advantage of everyone's inattention and pulled Jin Yenza aside, whispering, "Shut up." Jin Yenza glanced around and glared at him fiercely. "I don't want Jiqing to endure the pain of childbirth. It just so happens that Jian is pregnant now. If we don't give her some benefits, how can we make her obediently give birth to the child for Jiqing?" The friend was dumbfounded, winking and making faces at Jin Yenza. "Brother Yang, you're really something. You're truly enjoying the blessings of having two women." Jin Yenza frowned and was about to say something when he was interrupted by his parents, who had hurried over. "My son, why not just replace the bride with Jian in a couple of days for the wedding? That Lin Jiqing, not only is she unable to conceive, but her parents don't even like her. If you marry her, will you ever get a share of the Lin family's fortune? It's better to marry Jian. You'll have both a child and money." Watching their scheming faces, Lin Jiqing couldn't bear to listen any longer. Dragging her still recovering body, she hurriedly hailed a taxi and left. Back home, she looked at the family photo placed by the bedside and smashed it to pieces in one breath. Fortunately, there weren't many days left. As long as she endured these last few days, her life could start anew. While Jin Yenza and Lin Jian were enjoying the pleasures of fame and fortune, she went through the process of cancelling her household registration. Despite her frail condition, returning home, she immediately fell into a deep sleep, only to be awakened by faint, indistinct moans coming from outside the door. "Jian, I absolutely love this seductive side of you." Jin Yenza was panting heavily, his tone filled with desire. It was unclear where he had touched, but Lin Jian let out a soft, breathy moan. "Brother Yenza, don't be so impatient." Her voice was irresistibly seductive, enough to make any man's blood boil. "Hurry inside, it's so cold out here. This isn't right." even though Jiqing said she's already asleep. Still, Jin Yenze sounded hesitant, but it was unclear what Lin Jian did, as he let out a muffled groan. "Brother, are you really going to let me and your child catch a cold?" Jin Yenze gasped for breath and pushed the door open. On the sofa by the bed, the two of them were entangled in passion. Their moans, accompanied by the thunder and rain outside, reached Lin Jiqing's ears without missing a single detail. Tonight was destined to be sleepless. The next day, the room had returned to its original state. As if nothing had happened, Jin Yenze left a note for Lin Jiqing, saying he had something to do today and was sorry he hadn't come back to celebrate with her last night. Lin Jiqing called him, but heard a woman's coquettish laughter on the other end of the line. "Jiqing, what's wrong?" Jin Yenze's voice was somewhat tense, and what was happening on the other end was self-evident. Lin Jiqing's heart was left with nothing but numbness. Suppressing the pain, she forced her voice to remain calm. "Nothing much. It's just that I have a gathering with my best friend tonight. Let's just meet at the wedding." "Fine." Jin Yenze quickly finished speaking and hung up the phone directly. Lin Jiqing held her phone, stunned for a long moment before slowly starting to pack her things, the gifts Jin Yenze had given her. Anything that could be smashed was smashed, anything that could be burned was burned. Lin Jiqing's photos were torn to shreds by her, and even in the pictures of the two of them together. She tore off her own half completely. The 99 phoenix crowns that the jewelry store had delivered earlier had all been sold off by her. She held that stack of cash, with each bill tied to indecent photos of Lin Jian and Jin Yenze. She bought 10,000 balloons and 10,000 drones, attached the banknotes and photos to them, and released everything over the busiest shopping mall. She bought another 7 days and 7 nights of large-screen advertising rights, continuously scrolling their photos. After doing all this, Lin Jiqing neatly boarded a plane heading abroad. "Jin Yenze, we will never see each other again." Just after hanging up the phone, Jin Yenze pulled down Lin Jian's hand, which was fanning the flames, and pressed her down beneath him. "Little minx, can't you even wait a few minutes?" Lin Jian blinked her eyes, ambiguously placing Jin Yenze's hand by her lips and kissing it repeatedly. "Clearly, it's the baby telling me she misses her daddy. How can you blame me, brother? Brother, we're getting married the day after tomorrow. Stay with me until the wedding." Her hand gently brushed over Jin Yenze's chest, each movement stirring ripples. Jin Yenze was so stimulated by her that he gasped heavily, unable to resist kissing her. Then, as you wish, on the third day, Jin Yenze was still in Lin Jian's bed, lost in a drunken haze with her. When the alarm went off, he opened his eyes, his gaze clear and alert. Lin Jian wanted to hug him, to keep him from leaving. But he brushed her off with a swift motion. "Be good. I'll come back to keep you company after the wedding." Lin Jian's hands paused as she was tying his tie, and she pouted in dissatisfaction, acting coquettishly. "Didn't you say before that whoever wears that phoenix crown would be your wife? Now you want to marry another woman. Enough." Jin Yenze frowned. "I've told you many times, you can't compare to Jiqing. She has been with me all these years." His stern expression softened when he saw a tear at the corner of Lin Jian's eye. He gently wiped away Lin Jian's tears and kissed her forehead. "Don't be upset, I'll be back soon." At the wedding, Jin Yenze looked radiant and triumphant. Lin Jiqing's call didn't go through, but he wasn't worried at all. He thought Lin Jiqing was just throwing a little tantrum and would come soon. He energetically entertained the guests, but didn't notice their strange looks. Time passed minute by minute, until the media attending the wedding were about to enter, and Lin Jiqing still hadn't arrived. Lin Jiqing's phone was also unreachable. Jin Yenze's face darkened, while the Lin family parents kept forcing smiles. "What's wrong with this child? She has no manners at all. When she arrives, I'll definitely give her a good scolding." But the funeral home and the media arrived at the same time. "Mr. Jin, we regret to inform you that Miss Lin committed suicide by jumping off a building yesterday. Her body was beyond recognition and has already been cremated. This is her ashes. How is this possible? You must be joking." Jin Yenze couldn't believe that the small box contained his Jiqing. His eyes instantly reddened, and he dared not take the box. Jiqing had only had a disagreement with him. How could she be inside that little box? The guests present were in an uproar, and the media swarmed forward. "Mr. Jin, it seems your fiancée jumped to her death because she could no longer bear your affair with her sister. Do you agree with this view? What did you say?" Jin Yenza, his eyes bloodshot, grabbed the collar of the reporter who had asked the question. The reporter, however, remained completely unfazed and directly shoved the bed photos of him and Lim Jian right in front of his face. What do you have to say about this? Jin Yenza grabbed the photos, his face filled with disbelief. This is impossible. This is slander. His heart was filled with panic, and he couldn't even come up with a strong explanation, only able to repeat over and over that it was false. On the other side, the Lin family parents were also overwhelmed by the reporter's siege. Mr. Lin, I heard that your company's stock has recently rebounded. Is this the result of you forcing your eldest daughter to death and selling your younger daughter to Mr. Jin? There's no such thing, no such thing. Lin's parents desperately shouted their innocence in the crowd, as if that could cover up their guilt. The so-called wedding turned into a grand carnival. Everyone was asking Lin Jiqing, but no one truly cared about her. Jin Yenza, what's going on with you? Do you know your art exhibition is about to open? Now that you've caused such a huge scandal, even if you're a director, I don't see how you're going to explain this to the company. Here, the manager was berating Jin Yenza, who sat dejectedly on the floor. Boss, it's terrible. The internet is now flooded with criticism against you. You're at the top of the trending searches and won't come down, and the company's stock has plummeted right after. Over there, the assistant, with disheveled hair, held a laptop, fingers frantically tapping away. The assistants over there were also overwhelmed, answering phone calls non-stop. I told you long ago that woman was nothing but bad luck, but you were just bewitched by her. Now look what's happened. I want to see how you handle this. Mother Jin's spittle sprayed all over Jin Yenza's face, and the anxious calls of his manager and assistants echoed in his ears, but he paid no attention, just sitting dazedly on the ground, holding Lin Jiqing's ashes box in his hands. Impossible. How could this be? His Qingqing loved him so much. How could she bear to leave him? No, it can't be. His Qingqing must be throwing a tantrum with him. He doesn't believe she's really dead. Ignoring the shouts of everyone present, he pushed his way through the crowd, drove back to his own home, the home he shared with Qingqing. There were figures moving about in the house, and Jin Yenza's eyes lit up for a moment as he quickened his pace and walked inside. Upon seeing Jin Yenza, the servants' cheerful faces suddenly froze, each wearing an expression of sympathy. Sir, before the lady left, she told us to come and clean up today and take away this pile of things she no longer wants. Looking at the pile of items in the servant's hands, he completely broke down. That was something Lin Jiqing once cherished dearly, a gift he had given to her. No, this can't be. Jin Yenza rushed to the room he once shared with Lin Jiqing, only to find it completely empty. Even their wedding photos, which they had taken together, had been cut in half by Lin Jiqing. Removing her own image, he stumbled into the storage room, the place filled with memories of him and Lin Jiqing, only to see the servants busily cleaning up the debris on the floor. Oh my, how much would such a large jade sculpture cost? And it was just smashed like that. What do you know? The man of the house has cheated. So isn't it normal for the woman to smash a few things in anger? Should she have left them for the mistress? Shut up. All of you, get out. Jin Yenza's eyes were bloodshot as he stared fixedly at the shattered sculpture on the floor. The servants reluctantly closed their mouths and scurried out in disgrace. Jin Yenza walked toward the sculpture in disbelief, as memories from the past flowed through his mind like a stream. This sculpture is just average. When I have the money in the future, I'll definitely carve one for you out of jade. Why spend that kind of money? I love the gift you gave me the most. How can that be? My Qingqing deserves the very best. But after all these years, he forgot the promise he made back then. He didn't give Lin Jiqing the best. Even the initial things were what Lin Jian didn't want. It was he who pushed Lin Jiqing step by step to the brink. He was the one who forgot. Jin Yenza knelt on the ground, picked up the pile of soil, held it in his arms, and cried with a heart-wrenching pain. For several days in a row, he stayed in that small storage room, getting drunk every day. The phone in his pocket rang one call after another. He let the phone ring, allowing himself to be numbed by the alcohol. Yenza, how did you end up drinking like this? The door to the storage room suddenly swung open, and the figure stood silhouetted against the backlight, looking exactly like Lin Jiqing. Qingqing, I knew you weren't dead. Jin Yenza rubbed his eyes, then stumbled to his feet and threw himself into the person's arms, only to be pushed away by the woman. Jin Yenza, take a good look at who I am. Jin Yenza forced his eyes open. The person before him wasn't Lin Jiqing, but Lin Jian. Her face full of concern, she grabbed Jin Yenza, who was trying to leave. Brother, you can't go on like this. I know you're heartbroken over losing sister, but you have to think about the future, your career, your parents, and our child. She took Jin Yenza's hand and placed it on her abdomen. Seeing that Jin Yenza didn't refuse, Lin Jian suddenly gained a bit of confidence. Brother, I know that because sister spread our affair, it ruined your reputation, but you still have me. I'm willing to stay by your side. She looked sincerely at the man before her, hoping to awaken Jin Yenza with these words, but Jin Yenza just stared at her blankly, then suddenly grabbed her by the neck. At this point, you still dare to mention the child to me? Do you think I don't know? All those messages Qingqing released were sent by you. If it weren't for you seducing me, how could Qingqing have left me? His voice grew louder as he spoke, his large hand tightly gripping Lin Jian's neck, the veins on his hand bulging prominently. Lin Jian struggled desperately, continuously pounding on Jin Yenza, but Jin Yenza's grip only tightened further, as if struck by a sudden thought. He abruptly released his hand, flinging Lin Jian against the wall. Once the child is born, it will be a member of the Jin family. After that, you can go wherever you want. Lin Jian, standing by the wall, coughed a few times gloomily, then suddenly couldn't hold back a low laugh. I seduced you, Jin Yenza. Have you no shame? It was you who liked me first. When you couldn't win me over, you turned your attention to Lin Jiqing. You've achieved success and fame. While my family's business is declining day by day, now you think Lin Jiqing isn't good enough for you, so you come to me to play this white moonlight game. It's you who wants to enjoy the blessings of having both. It's you who doesn't treat Lin Jiqing as a human being. How dare you blame me for it? With every word she spoke, Jin Yenza's expression darkened further, and he stepped closer to her, one step at a time. Lin Jian was afraid, but she didn't want to compromise anymore. As the cherished pearl of the Lin family, she had always gotten whatever she wanted, and everything she received was always better than what Lin Jiqing got. She had endured the humiliation of being a hidden mistress for so long, and she had had enough. The room was not that big, and in the blink of an eye, Jin Yenza was standing right in front of her. Shut up. He kicked Lin Jian hard in the leg with a loud thud. Lin Jian winced in pain, wanting to run, but Jin Yenza grabbed her. Her nails clawed at the ground, only scraping up a handful of dirt. Just as she was in despair, the door opened again. What are you doing hitting Jian? Are you even a man? As soon as Mrs. Lin entered the room, she saw Lin Jian lying on the ground, nearly dragged over by Jin Yenza to be beaten. She pushed Jin Yenza aside and, heartbroken, pulled Lin Jian into her arms. Jin Yenza, pushed by her, seemed to suddenly remember something. He turned his head and glared fiercely at Mrs. Lin. Jiqing is dead. You're her mother. Why aren't you sad? Mother Lin was busy checking Lin Jian all over for any other injuries, and upon hearing this, she shot him an annoyed sidelong glance. What do I have to be sad about? That wretched girl is a born jinx. Ever since she was born, our family business has been in decline. Now that she's jumped off a building, she's free from it all. Do you have any idea what she's driven our family business to? She deserved to die. What man with money doesn't have multiple wives and concubines? She and her sister sharing one husband was already a great blessing, yet she still made such a fuss about life and death. I really spit on her. Upon hearing these words, Jin Yenza swayed in disbelief. No wonder, Jiqing has no affection for his own home. Every time he mentions going home, Jiqing always stiffens up and finds all sorts of excuses not to return. It turns out they were just pretending to love Jiqing in front of him. No. It was his carelessness, his fault. He had turned a blind eye to the cold treatment and distance Jiqing had endured so many times. A few days later, Jin Yenza, accompanied by his agent, attended a press conference to offer a formal apology to the public. This move helped his precarious popularity recover somewhat. After the press conference ended, the agent rubbed his temples. Since things have come to this, pick a date and marry Lin Jian. What? Jin Yenza looked at his agent in astonishment. I won't agree. I absolutely will not marry the woman who killed Qingqing. You, the agent pointed at him, then finally lowered his hand helplessly. Fine, I'll let your parents talk to you. After the agent left, Jin's parents came in beaming with joy. Yenza, You silly child. Now is the perfect time for you and Jian to get married. Why are you still refusing? Mom, what are you saying? Jijing just passed away, and you want me to marry someone else, Mr. and Mrs. Jin looked at him with disapproval. What about Lin Jijing? If it weren't for the fact that she was once kidnapped for your sake, we would never have agreed to let her into our family. Besides, she wasn't even hurt during that kidnapping, was she? Look at how gloomy she is. How much money have you lost because of her? If you don't feel sorry for yourself, we certainly do. At this point, Mr. and Mrs. Jin frowned, as if mentioning Lin Jijing even once was enough to bring bad luck. All right. Enough said. In short, just hurry up and marry Jian. I can tell from her figure that she's definitely carrying a son. Now is the perfect time. With all the commotion you two have caused, her parents won't have the nerve to ask us for a dowry. That saves us a lot of money. Besides, with Lin Jijing dead, all the Lin family's money will go to Lin Jian. If you don't marry her now, when will you? By the way, if you're really worried about that Lin Jijing, just have your agent handle it. Change the story to say you and Jian are true love, and she's the other woman. Problem solved, right? You can't let a little thing like this hold you back. Jin Yenze initially stubbornly refused to agree, but under constant pressure from his agent and both sets of parents, he eventually gave in. He returned home, holding the hairpin he had once given Lin Jijing as a birthday gift, and pressed it against his chest. Jijing, you'll forgive me from heaven, won't you? Trust me, I love you. After a chaotic commotion, Jin Yenze and Lin Jian got married. Although the agent had already arranged for public relations to portray the two as a perfect match made in heaven, however, at the wedding, the groom's expressionless face still aroused suspicion among a small number of people. No way, with all these twists and turns happening one after another, do you really believe it? I think this man conspired with his mistress to kill his wife, and now he's just putting on an act. Upstairs, I agree with you. Lin Jijing is just too tragic. Her father doesn't care for her mother doesn't love her, and now that she's dead, her husband is taking advantage of it to smear her reputation. Of course, this small portion of public opinion did not affect the overall situation. Jin Yenze's wedding proceeded smoothly, with a large number of people online, whether real or fake, shouting love above all else. His art exhibition will proceed as scheduled, yet he himself has no heart for work. Spending every day in the house he once shared with Lin Jijing, using fine jade to sculpt the long overdue statue of Lin Jijing. And all of this did not affect Lin Jijing on the other side of the ocean in the slightest. At this moment, she was painfully starting her learning from scratch. After she left, the Restart Life Service team gave her the address, and she headed straight across the ocean to that address. As soon as she got off the plane, she saw a *** sign with her name on it. Behind the sign was a very tall young man. Hello, I'm the staff member responsible for helping you restart your life. You can call me Jiu Yuan. She reached out and gently shook Jiu Yuan's hand. The warmth from the man's palm dispelled some of her fear of the unfamiliar environment. Hello, I'm Lin Jijing. Jiu Yuan nodded. He didn't speak much, but he was very attentive and pulled Lin Jijing's suitcase over. Jiu Yuan was tall and walked very quickly. Lin Jijing was a bit socially anxious. She didn't know how to say it, so she could only jog to keep up with Jiu Yuan, out of the corner of his eye. The man caught sight of Lin Jijing's jogging figure, and the corners of his mouth lifted imperceptibly as he slowed his pace. Upon arriving at the residence, Jiu Yuan gallantly helped Lin Jijing carry her luggage to the room. Miss Lin, this is your room, it has already been cleaned. And I have arranged other daily necessities and clothing according to my own taste. If anything is unsuitable, please let me know. I live just downstairs from you. Lin Jijing looked around at this brand new environment. She nodded in satisfaction. Thank you for your trouble. Jiu Yuan heard her words and understood that she had mistaken all the effort he had put into organizing things for her as part of the company's business. He raised an eyebrow but said nothing, politely bidding Lin Jijing farewell before leaving. After all, they had plenty of time ahead of them. Lin Jijing lay on the bed, the soft mattress lifting her spirits entirely. She hated hard beds, but to accommodate Jin Yenze, she hadn't slept on a soft one for who knows how long. She wandered around like a curious child, until she opened the wardrobe and saw the colorful underwear. Her face flushed red. Isn't this too thoughtful? Not only does this company solve the fake death problem, but it also provides such considerate accommodation services. Will it really not go bankrupt? For the next month, Lin Jiqing had this question every day. Was Jiyu Yuan only serving her as a customer? Jiyu Yuan lived right downstairs from her. It was as if he could predict everything. Every morning when Lin Jiqing woke up, he would knock on her door right on time, telling her that the meal was ready and inviting her to his place to eat. Strangely enough, the breakfast on the table was always what Lin Jiqing loved to eat. Not only that, but Lin Jiqing was in poor health, and after changing environments, she even experienced some discomfort from the new surroundings. One night, she had a high fever that wouldn't go down, and it was Jiyu Yuan who carried her on his back and ran to the hospital in the heavy rain. When she woke up in the hospital bed, she found Jiyu Yuan sitting by the bedside, watching over her bit by bit, even nodding off from exhaustion. Seeing her awake, Jiyu Yuan quickly handed her the clean clothes he had brought from home. Worried that she might feel uncomfortable wearing sweaty clothes, yet he was still wearing his own soaked outfit, she asked him why he hadn't changed his clothes. He only said, "I was afraid that when you woke up and found no one by your side, you would be scared to be alone, so I didn't have time to change my clothes." Not only that, Jiyu Yuan would also take Lin Jiqing out to explore, claiming it was to draw inspiration from nature. Lin Jiqing was once an art student herself, and her teacher had publicly praised her talent, saying that with time, she would achieve great things. But later, after she got together with Jin Yenze, in order to accompany him and help him build his own career, she gave up the painting she once loved, turning instead to entertain one glass after another for Jin Yenze, pleading with people just to secure an opportunity for him. "What are you thinking about?" Jiyu Yuan held a bottle of ice water and touched Lin Jiqing's face with it. Lin Jiqing snapped out of her memories in an instant, dazedly reaching for the ice water in Jiyu Yuan's hand. Jiyu Yuan frowned and unceremoniously slapped her hand away. "Have you forgotten how much it hurt last time? How dare you drink something cold during your special period?" Lin Jiqing's face flushed red instantly. How do you know?" Jiyu Yuan mischievously pinched her cheek. "Of course I know everything, because I keep you in my heart." As soon as these words were spoken, both of them froze. Lin Jiqing, even more flustered, turned her head away. After all these days, even if Lin Jiqing were the most foolish, she would have understood Jiyu Yuan's feelings for her. She was just using the employment relationship as a pretext to numb herself. She was afraid of being hurt again after giving her whole heart. She hurriedly stood up, wanting to leave, but was stopped by Jiyu Yuan. "Well, I just realized I forgot to mention something earlier. I picked up your admission letter for you." Lin Jiqing was in such a rush before going abroad that she didn't prepare much. After arriving abroad, following Jiyu Yuan's suggestion, she contacted the school and reapplied to become a student in the art department. At first, Lin Jiqing was still a bit hesitant. After all these years, her inspirations seemed to have withered away along with her unfortunate love. It was Jiyu Yuan who had always encouraged her, comforted her, and taken her around to gather inspiration. She didn't want to let Jiyu Yuan's kindness go to waste, and she couldn't let her own efforts be in vain either. Thinking of this, her heart softened a little. Lin Jiqing took a deep breath, turned around, and faced Jiyu Yuan, taking the admission notice. "Thank you so much for helping me so much. I hope you can continue to accompany me for my first exam after I start school." Jiyu Yuan watched her carefully, afraid she might be unhappy. Hearing this, he breathed a sigh of relief and regained his usual spirited demeanor. "Of course, my dear customer, I will always be by your side." Lin Jiqing looked at Jiyu Yuan's smiling face, as if also infected by that uplifting vitality. Sunlight bathed them, and they understood each other without words. 3 months later, Lin Jiqing walked through the university campus with her backpack on, when suddenly something cold touched her face, startling her. Turning around, she found Jiyu Yuan holding a bottle of iced cola. Smiling at her, she snatched the cola with a huff. "Why do you always use this trick to scare people?" "Of course, because it works every time." Jiyu Yuan crossed his arms, looking at her with a grin. Lin Jiqing held the cola, wanting to drink it but feeling a bit hesitant. She used to love drinking these things too. But ever since Jin Yenze intentionally or unintentionally reminded her not to drink these junk beverages and jokingly said he wouldn't want her anymore if she gained weight, She had never touched them again. Seeing her hesitation, Jiyu Yuan didn't say anything. He simply pulled out the cola, unscrewed the cap for her. Drink up, I've finally managed to get your health back on track, and if you wait any longer, I might change my mind. Lin Jiqing pursed her lips and took the bottle of cola. Aren't you worried I'll gain weight? What? Jiyu Yuan was somewhat incredulous. What is there to worry about? You're already so thin. What's the harm in gaining a little weight? Don't you know that I worry every day whether you might be blown away by the wind? Jiyu Yuan's exaggerated expression made Lin Jiqing laugh, and she no longer hesitated, taking big sips as she drank. These past few days, thanks to Jiyu Yuan's help, her studies had been going smoothly. She was a bit curious. With Jiyu Yuan's level of artistic cultivation, how could he possibly be unknown and end up as a so-called service staff? When she raised this question, Jiyu Yuan was in the coffee shop he owned, leisurely making latte art. This is a secret. If you want to know, you can give me a kiss, and I'll tell you. Lin Jiqing's face flushed uncontrollably again. These days, Jiyu Yuan always made such well-measured jokes, leaving her unable to handle them. Fine, if you don't want to say it, then don't. She silently stood up from the high stool, making a move to leave. Wait, Jiyu Yuan grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Alright, I won't tease you anymore. Actually, it's just because I wanted to spend time with you, so I've been on vacation lately. Don't worry, I have my own career. Jiyu Yuan's teasing confession left her at a loss, but this almost nakedly sincere expression of affection made her even more unsure how to respond. Lin Jiqing nervously sweated in the palms of her hands. Then let me cook you a meal as a way of thanking you. Great, of course that's great. Don't worry, I can eat anything. Even if you burn through the bottom of the pot, I'll eat the pot itself. Jiyu Yuan excitedly danced around, making Lin Jiqing laugh, and the inexplicable tension between the two dissipated quite a bit. That being said, Lin Jiqing had never imagined she would actually burn a dish. After all, in the past, Jin Yanze was always busy with work, often complaining of stomach pain and not liking the food made by the housekeeper. As a result, she had always been the one cooking at home. During her time here, Jiyu Yuan had hardly ever let her step into the kitchen. After a long time, Lin Jiqing never expected she would become so out of practice. She felt a bit embarrassed. This was her first time hosting someone, and it turned out like this. But Jiyu Yuan accepted it quite well, eating heartily without the slightest hint of disdain. As they were eating, the power suddenly went out. Lin Jiqing, who was afraid of the dark, was startled and tightly hugged Jiyu Yuan. In the darkness, Jiyu Yuan's eyes grew even brighter. Jiqing, I've wanted to say this for a long time. Before, you never took my words seriously. I know you have your concerns. But I want to tell you, I truly like you and want to protect you. As long as I live, I won't let you suffer any grievances. If you don't believe me, I'll transfer all my assets to you right now to prove my sincerity. Perhaps it was the darkness that made the atmosphere a bit ambiguous. Or maybe it was just because Jiyu Yuan's eyes were too bright. Lin Jiqing didn't say anything, just stood on her tiptoes and gently kissed Jiyu Yuan. After that day, the atmosphere between them became a bit strange. Perhaps because their identities had suddenly changed, both of them were caught off guard. Lin Jiqing knew she liked Jiyu Yuan, but she was constantly worried. Jiyu Yuan had no other way but to treat her even better. Their interactions actually became more polite than before they were together. Lin Jiqing was annoyed with herself, but she sadly realized she couldn't change. Jiyu Yuan understood her. Jiqing, don't push yourself too hard. I'm right here and won't run away. I can wait for you for many, many years. Jiyu Yuan walked backward while holding her hand, the warmth in his palm giving Lin Jiqing strength. She nodded. But before she could say anything, a reckless electric scooter came charging toward them. Jiyu Yuan's pupils contracted, and he instinctively pushed Lin Jiqing aside, only to be struck in the abdomen by the electric scooter himself. The immense impact sent him flying several meters away. Lin Jiqing was terrified and immediately rushed to Jiyu Yuan's side, only to find that his clothes had been torn by the scooter, and his abdomen was bleeding profusely from the gash. Lin Jiqing was so panicked that she felt utterly lost. Fortunately, after being taken to the hospital, the doctor examined Jiyu Yuan and said he was not seriously injured, which finally put her mind at ease. You scared me to death. Lin Jiqing's eyes brimmed with tears as she tightly grasped the hand of the unconscious Jiyu Yuan, as if clutching her own hope. What would I do without you? She lowered her head, resting it against Jiyu Yuan's hand. When suddenly a warmth spread from the top of her head. Jiyu Yuan had woken up and was gently stroking her head, looking at her with tenderness. You're still here, how could I bear to let anything happen to me? Seeing that he was awake, Lin Jiqing felt a bit shy and pretended to wipe away her tears as if nothing had happened. It's good that you're awake. I'll go out and get you some water. Don't go. Jiyu Yuan reached out a hand, and Lin Jiqing, caught off balance, fell onto his stomach. Jiyu Yuan let out a low groan of pain. Lin Jiqing scrambled to her feet. Are you okay? Did I hurt you? Then, in a panic, she lifted Jiyu Yuan's clothes and found that, fortunately, the wound hadn't split open more severely. Lin Jiqing breathed a sigh of relief, only to turn her head and see a long scar on Jiyu Yuan's stomach. Seeing her curiosity, Jiyu Yuan suddenly changed his expression. Don't you remember how this scar came about? Hearing these words, Lin Jiqing couldn't help but furrow her brows. Should I remember? But as far as I've known you, you've never been injured. But then, Jiyu Yuan's next words completely shattered her memories. Jiqing. Jiyu Yuan's expression became calm. Unlike his usual cheerful and smiling self, we actually met 22 years ago, when Lin Jiqing was 5 years old. Her parents adopted Lin Jian. Jiqing, from now on, this is your younger sister. Remember, you are the older sister, so you must give in to her in the future. No matter what your sister says, don't argue back. Understand? Her mother, who had not spoken kindly to her in a long time, finally spoke gently, and little Lin Jiqing eagerly nodded. At that time, she had no idea that these few words would determine her fate of being subordinate to others for the next 20 years. Since Lin Jian arrived, the family business has improved quite a bit, and the smiles on the faces of the Lin parents have also increased. Lin Jian was already somewhat spoiled. And although children don't understand grand principles, they are the best at reading people's expressions. Although she didn't understand anything about business, she knew that in this household, Lin Jiqing's food and belongings were far inferior to hers. Whenever the two had conflicts, the parents would, without any hesitation, make Lin Jiqing apologize to her. Back and forth, she became even more emboldened. One day, because Lin Jiqing scored full marks, her parents rewarded her with a rag doll that Lin Jian didn't want. Lin Jian suddenly felt utterly unbearable. She couldn't understand, if her parents only loved her, why didn't they just make Lin Jiqing leave? So she tricked Lin Jiqing and left her alone at the amusement park. Little Lin Jiqing waited from dawn till dusk, but no one came to take her home. She was starving and could only cry out for her mom and dad over and over again. At that moment, 2 adults who looked suspicious approached, saying they would take her to find her parents. She didn't believe them and tried to run away, but she suddenly fainted. When she woke up again, she was already in a dilapidated warehouse. Inside the warehouse, there was also a grumpy-looking little boy who seemed to have a bad temper. My name is Lin Jiqing. What's yours? Although Lin Jiqing was scared, the warehouse was empty. And not talking to this grumpy-looking guy in front of her would only make her more afraid. Even if I tell you, you won't remember. The child had a sullen face, seeming somewhat impatient, constantly drawing on the ground here and there with his hand. Lin Jiqing showed no impatience at all, just obediently nodded her head. After all, the words from her family were much harsher than those of this little brother, and she had never cried over them. The little boy looked back at her, seemingly a bit surprised that she was so quiet and uncomplaining. Lin Jiqing blinked her big eyes at him, just obediently saying, "Brother, I'm hungry. Do you have any food?" The little boy seemed to suddenly breathe a sigh of relief. That's more like it, a not-so-smart kid like this, besides eating, just makes noise. There's no way they could be that well-behaved. He rummaged through his pocket and finally found a piece of chocolate, handing it to Lin Jiqing. When Lin Jiqing saw the chocolate, her eyes suddenly lit up for a moment. Just as she was about to take it, she heard the little boy's stomach rumble as well. The boy felt a bit embarrassed and was about to explain that he wasn't really hungry when Lin Jiqing handed the chocolate back to him. "Brother, this is yours. Since you're hungry, you should eat it." But her big, fluttering eyes remained fixed on that piece of chocolate. The boy felt a bit uneasy under her gaze, though he didn't understand why he should feel that way. But he still broke the chocolate into 2 pieces and handed the larger one to Lin Jiqing. "It's just because I'm a good person, that's all," the little boy silently persuaded himself in his heart. "When I run away later, I definitely won't take such a burden with me." Lin Jiqing quickly finished the chocolate and looked at the boy happily. "Brother, are you planning to escape according to the map you drew on the ground? If you manage to get out, could you tell Grandma to come pick me up? I really want to eat the braised pork ribs she makes." "It's okay, I'll take you out with me." As soon as the words left his mouth, Jiyu Yuan felt a pang of regret. Why couldn't he control his own mouth? The traffickers had no idea where they had gone, probably thinking the 2 children couldn't have run far. But they never expected that Jiyu Yuan and Lin Jiqing, being small in stature, could squeeze through that tiny saw pipe and escape. The 2 held hands and ran until they reached a populated area before finally stopping. The 2 children were taken in by kind-hearted villagers, waiting for the police and their families to come and take them home. "It's so boring, let's play some games." Lin Jiqing, with 2 small braids tied by the villagers, looked absolutely adorable. Jiyu Yuan complained about the coarse cloth clothes the villagers had changed him into, while inwardly mocking. Who would still think about playing at a time like this? What a child. But when Lin Jiqing took his hand, blinking her big eyes and pleading with him, it was as if he had been bewitched, and he followed her to squat on the ground and play with mud, listening to her chattering away there. "I actually think it's really fun to make little figures out of mud, but Mom and Dad always say it's dirty and won't let me play like that," Lin Jiqing muttered in frustration while her hands kept working, soon shaping the rough form of a little boy. "Brother, look, this is you that I made. Does it look like you?" Jiyu Yuan looked at the little figure in front of him, which only vaguely had limbs and a head, and let out an unkind chuckle. Then, he started to shape a clay figure himself. "Yours doesn't look like me at all. Watch me make one for you." As he spoke, his hands moved swiftly, and in no time he had molded a little figure that was no better than the one Lin Jiqing had made. Yet, he was incredibly proud of it. Jiyu Yuan lifted his chin and looked at Lin Jiqing with a smug expression. "Take a look, how is it?" Lin Jiqing curled her lips. "It's not really any better than mine." Jiyu Yuan immediately got angry, and the 2 of them exchanged words back and forth, ignoring each other for quite a while, until the patrolmen brought their parents. Listening to the sound of the adults' voices getting closer and closer, little Guyuan felt an inexplicable panic. And he could no longer afford to be upset. He grabbed Lin Jiqing's hand and handed her the little girl's clay doll. "This is what I made for you. You must keep it safe, and also, my name is Guyuan, remember it, because I will come find you in the future." Hearing Jiyu Yuan take the lead in showing weakness, Lin Jiqing no longer felt awkward. She nodded solemnly and handed the doll she had made to Jiyu Yuan as well. "Brother Jiyu Yuan, I'll remember you. I'll take good care of the doll you made. And you must remember to come find me to play in the future." 2 little children held the dolls they had made for each other, reluctant to part. Not long after returning home, Lin Jiqing developed a high fever. She clutched the doll tightly in her hand, and in her daze, she seemed to hear her mother's furious voice. "This child. Not only did she run off and get lost, but now she's so seriously ill and still clinging to this filthy thing. We can't even give her an injection properly. She really knows how to cause trouble for us from the moment she was born." "Alright, if it weren't for your negligence, would Ching Ching have run off?" After saying a few words, Grandma started coughing heavily. Lin Jiqing grew anxious, and with a sudden release of her hand, the doll fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Before completely losing consciousness, she was still thinking, "It's okay." She remembered Jiyu Yuan's name. She would apologize to him later and ask him to make another one for her, but that moment is forever. After waking up, because the fever was too severe, she forgot many things, even Jiyu Yuan. All she remembers is that she seemed to really like clay dolls. Later, she met Jin Yenza. Jin Yenza's countless attempts to please her only softened her heart, but never truly moved it. But it wasn't until Jin Yenza made a clay sculpture for her that her heart raced, and she agreed to be with him, that same year. Jiyu Yuan returned from abroad and discovered they were together. He was heartbroken and in pain, but he couldn't bear to see Lin Jiqing sad, so he secretly helped them, ensuring Jin Yenza rose to fame quickly. He then returned abroad, until he learned that Lin Jiqing had been betrayed and faked her death at the wedding. Hearing this, Lin Jiqing was already in tears. She never imagined that such a reason had kept them apart for so long. Jiyu Yuan looked at her with a pained heart. I'm sorry, Jiqing. I shouldn't have gone abroad back then. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have forgotten you. Jiyu Yuan looked at Lin Jiqing like this, feeling as if his heart was about to break. Ignoring the wound in his abdomen, he straightened up and embraced Lin Jiqing. Let's not blame ourselves anymore. We can't make up for the past, but we still have many years ahead of us, don't we? Lin Jiqing nodded vigorously in his embrace. From that day on, their relationship took a step further. After Jiyu Yuan was discharged from the hospital, the two naturally moved in together. Sometimes, just a single glance between them could ignite sparks of passion and desire. The two of them spent a happy and joyful time together. One morning, as soon as he woke up, Jiyu Yuan noticed that Lin Jiqing was not in bed. He hurried downstairs, not even wearing shoes, only to find Lin Jiqing in the kitchen making breakfast for him. He tightly embraced Lin Jiqing from behind. You scared me. Lin Jiqing playfully patted him, trying to break free and continue cooking, but Jiyu Yuan leaned in and hugged her again. No, I just want to stay like this with you. Lin Jiqing smiled and let him hold her. However, happy times always seem a bit fleeting. Not long after, Jiyu Yuan reluctantly told Lin Jiqing that he needed to return to his home country ahead of schedule. Jiyu Yuan's identity is not simple either. His family has been in business for generations, but when it came to his generation, he rebelliously chose to pursue the path of art. His family initially did not agree, but later, as he made a name for himself through his own efforts, they gradually came to accept him. During the time he accompanied Lin Jiqing, he didn't know how much compensation he had to pay for breaching contracts, and he even cancelled a half-prepared art exhibition in China for Lin Jiqing's sake. This time, he returned to China to re-prepare for this art exhibition, looking at Jiyu Yuan's worried face. Lin Jiqing couldn't help but laugh out loud. What are you afraid of? Do you think I'd run off with someone else? No, it's not that. We've talked about this before. We'll eventually return to China. I'm just worried that we might run into Jin Yenza someday. And you, hearing that name she hadn't heard in a long time. Lin Jiqing's smile faded a little, but deep down, that heart-wrenching pain was already gone. By now, he's probably already flying off into the sunset with Lin Jian. She took Jiyu Yuan's hand and looked at him gently. Don't worry, he and I are in the past. No matter what he does now, it won't hurt me. Besides, isn't there still you? Jiyu Yuan breathed a sigh of relief and firmly grasped Lin Jiqing's hand in return. A few days later, Jiyu Yuan's plane flew back to the country, and Lin Jiqing reluctantly bid him farewell at the airport. She didn't know that someone behind her saw her and widened their eyes in surprise. Nanning never expected to encounter Lin Jiqing here, the woman who had been confirmed dead and whose supposed demise had left his brother Yang devastated. Though he was taken aback, he didn't miss a beat and snapped a series of photos of Lin Jiqing, sending them all to Jin Yenza. At that very moment, across the ocean, Lin Jian was holding Jin Yenza's phone. Seeing the news that Lin Jiqing was not dead, her pupils contracted sharply, turning her head unnaturally to glance at Jin Yenza, who was still busy. She hastily replied with a "got it" and quickly deleted all the messages. After finishing his work, Jin Yenza, who was nearby, saw Lin Jian fiddling with his phone. His face instantly darkened as he snatched the phone away. Who said you could go through my phone? Do you have any manners? Manners? Lin Jian crossed her arms and looked Jin Yenza up and down impatiently. Did you ever think about what was proper or not when you were holding me and being intimate in front of Lin Jiqing? At the mention of that heart-wrenching name, Jin Yenza's face darkened. He grabbed Lin Jian's arm and pushed her against the wall. Don't mention Jiqing to me. You don't deserve to, I'm telling you. If it weren't for the fact that you're carrying my child, I would have made sure you died without a place to be buried long ago. You, Lin Jian struggled desperately, about to retort to Jin Yenza, but sadly remembered her parents' instructions to her. Yang, our Lin family is not as prosperous as before. You must use the child in your belly to cling tightly to Jin Yenza. That's right. Their Lin family was no longer the same as before. Her parents' business was far less successful than it used to be, and they could only rely on her to occasionally get some money from Jin Yenza to help support the family. At this thought, she irritably scratched her head. Since the exposure of that scandal with her, Jin Yenza had to work twice as hard to salvage his reputation. For the rest of the time, he mostly drowned his sorrows in alcohol, missing Lin Jiqing. Lin Jian, a pampered young lady who had always been showered with affection, naturally couldn't stand such cold treatment. Taking advantage of Jin Yenza's return to the studio, she gathered a few old friends and headed to a bar. In the bar, dim and noisy, Lin Jian, who had drunk too much, accidentally bumped into someone. She was already in a bad mood, and bumping into someone only made her angrier. "Are you blind? You bumped into me, your grandma." The person she bumped into was not someone to be trifled with either, and within a few words, they started arguing with Lin Jian. By the time Lin Jian's friends noticed something was wrong, she was already clutching her stomach and had collapsed on the ground. At the hospital, Jin Yenza arrived with his parents, his face dark with anger. Seeing Jin Yenza, Lin Jian was so frightened that she shrank back. She never expected that the one who had struck her this time was Jin's mother, who had always doted on her in the past. A crisp slap echoed, and Lin Jian stared at Jin's mother in disbelief, still looking. "What are you looking at?" Jin's mother's spittle sprayed all over Lin Jian's face. "It's truly a curse. None of the daughters from your Lin family are any good. They all bring misfortune to my son." She spoke for a long while, but Jin Yenza showed no desire to stop her, just watching Lin Jian with cold indifference. As Mrs. Jin grew angrier, she even reached out and gave Lin Jian a hard, painful pinch. "You unlucky thing, I'm telling you, if anything happens to our precious grandson, I'll make sure my son never sends money to your worthless parents again." Lin Jian's skin was fair, and the spot where she was pinched instantly turned a dark purple. At this moment, Lin Jian's parents also rushed over upon hearing the news. "Dad, Mom." Lin Jian looked at her parents with teary eyes and deliberately revealed the bruises on her body. However, her parents didn't even glance at her and instead pulled Jin Yenza aside to apologize on their own. "Xiao Jin, please don't be angry. Jian has just been spoiled by us." She wouldn't dare to say anything more. "If you're not at ease, from now on, we, as a couple, will go over and keep an eye on her every day." "Mom, what are you talking about? How can this be?" Lin Jian looked at her parents in disbelief. She couldn't believe that her parents, who had once loved her so much, had revealed their true faces. "That won't do. She's your daughter. Who knows if you might secretly trick my son out of more money." Mrs. Jin, no longer as humble as before, looked down her nose at the bowing and scraping parents of the Lin family. "All right then, I'll just have to put in a little extra effort and keep an eye on your disobedient daughter for you." Lin Jian looked helplessly at her parents, hoping they would speak up for her. With such an old shrew coming, how could she possibly have any good days ahead? Yet, Lin's parents ignored her plea for help and eagerly agreed. They even bowed and scraped their way out when faced with the blunt dismissal from the Jin family. "Truly raised a useless child, can't even keep a man under control." As soon as they stepped outside, Mr. Lin dropped his pleasant facade and began arguing with Mrs. Lin. Between the lines, it was all about blaming Mother Lin for failing to raise her daughter properly. Mother Lin was not one to back down either. "Me, a failure, at least I raised 2 daughters for you. Did any of those fluttering butterflies outside ever give you half a child?" Outside the door, Jiu Yuan happened to be visiting an elder at the hospital when he heard their commotion. Curious, he inquired, "Uncle Li, what's going on? What else could it be? They're addicted to selling their daughter. Wasn't Lin Jiqing practically driven to death by her parents before? Now, her younger sister, who's a mistress, isn't faring any better either." Mentioning this, even though Dean Li was getting on in years, he still found such behavior utterly disgraceful. He spilled the whole story as if pouring out beans. Jiu Yuan listened, his frown deepening. Not long after, Jin Yenza stormed out, slamming the door, and bumped right into Jiu Yuan. The two stared at each other expressionlessly for a moment before turning their gazes away. "Find some trouble for Jin Yenza. Jiqing is returning to the country soon. Don't let him bother her." Jiu Yuan whispered instructions to his assistant, then turned back to continue chatting with Dean Li. Jin's parents moved into Jin Yenza and Lin Jian's home just like that. Every morning at the crack of dawn, they would wake Lin Jian up to make breakfast. They claimed it was for the baby in her belly, saying the mother should get more exercise. They even fired the family nanny, telling Jin Yenza that the nanny wasn't taking good enough care of Lin Jian. so they would do it themselves. But they completely disregarded Lin Jian's well-being, making only the food they themselves liked to eat. Although Lin Jian had reached the second trimester of her pregnancy, her morning sickness had returned. Every day, the smell of oil made her want to vomit. Yet Jin's parents would wipe their mouths and force chopsticks of food into her mouth. In our day, we could still work in the fields even when pregnant. How come you're so delicate, mister? Jin discreetly touched Lin Jian, who struggled desperately. However, Mrs. Jin mistakenly thought she didn't want to eat, so she grabbed her face and forced the food into her mouth, regardless of whether she could swallow it or not. Hurry up and eat. This pig trotter soup is highly nutritious. If my grandson doesn't have enough milk after he's born, you'll be in trouble. Lin Jian couldn't take it anymore. She pushed Mrs. Jin away and, unable to hold back the urge to vomit, spat it all out on the floor. Jin Yenza happened to return just then. Lin Jian crawled to his feet, grabbing his pant leg tightly and pleading with him desperately. Yenza, it's my fault, I beg you, please bring the nanny back. Your mother is directly pouring things into my stomach, I really can't take it anymore. Jin Yenza looked at her, now bloated and lacking any sense of beauty, frowned, and disdainfully pushed her aside. Since you don't like to eat, then go hungry. Seeing that her son didn't say anything, Mrs. Jin rolled her eyes at Lin Jian. Get up and get into the house. Lin Jian couldn't stop crying. She returned to the bedroom and called her parents, who also advised her to be more patient. Not long after the call ended, Mrs. Jin rushed into the bedroom as if she had caught wind of something. Don't you know that electronic devices are harmful to children? With that, she snatched the phone away. I'm telling you, if I catch you playing with your phone again, I'll make Yenza divorce you. Lin Jian had no choice but to endure the discomfort, set aside her pride, and put on that same seductive lingerie from before. Trying to seduce Jin Yenza in hopes of making her life a little easier, looking at her swollen figure during pregnancy, Jin Yenza frowned, not wanting to touch her at all, and left her to his mother. Seeing her like this, Jin's mother understood everything in her heart. Still thinking about men even when you're pregnant? How shameless. Is this how your family taught you to seduce men? Lin Jian was utterly ashamed, yet she gritted her teeth in resentment. This old witch, one day I'll show you what's what. Jin's mother dragged her, half naked, back to the room, and she even caught a glimpse of Jin's father's disgusting, drooling face. Lin Jian returned to her room, so angry that she kept pacing in circles inside. She wanted to smash things to vent her anger, but when she thought of Jin Yenza's gloomy expression, she put the things down again. What should she do? Her parents now completely regarded her as a sacrificial offering. In their hearts, there was no daughter, only business. It was all because of that Lin Jiqing. If she hadn't leaked her chat records, how could she have ended up like this? Lin Jian gritted her teeth in hatred. She couldn't bear this kind of life for even one more day. She planned to wait for a day when Jin Yenza wasn't around, sneak into the safe, steal some money, and run away. As for the lump of flesh in her belly, she gently stroked her stomach, and when she opened her eyes again, only a ruthless gleam remained in them. She would just get rid of it when the time came. A few days later, she finally managed to enter Jin Yenza's study when no one was home, just as she got hold of the banknotes. Jin Yenza and his mother pushed the door open and walked in. Yenza, it's not that I'm saying this, but while three-legged toads are hard to find, aren't women with two legs who can bear children everywhere? Back then, we married Lin Jian because her family was wealthy and willing to give money to this adopted daughter. But now their family is almost bankrupt. In my opinion, once the child is born, just divorce her directly, and from what I can see, she's probably carrying a daughter. If it really is a daughter, just let her take it away to avoid any trouble. Lin Jian, hiding in the closet, felt her heart leap into her throat, but Jin Yenza once again let her down. Understood, Mom, I'll listen to you. Not long after, they left, and Lin Jian seized the opportunity to escape. She glanced back at the villa one last time. Goodbye, Jin Yenza. Since you've shown no mercy, don't blame me for being ruthless. A few days later, the media rushed to report on Jin Yenza's scandal, accusing him of infidelity and causing his wife's death. His reputation plummeted overnight. In the office, Jin Yenza swept everything off his desk in a fit of rage. Lin Jian, don't let me catch you. His eyes were frighteningly red. Even his agent retreated. Not daring to meet his gaze at this moment, a few days later, Jiyu Yuan came to the airport to pick up Lin Jiqing, who was returning to the country. Lin Jiqing returned this time as a rising new generation painter who had just begun to make a name for herself. At the airport, Jiyu Yuan, holding a bouquet of *** flowers, warmly stepped forward to greet her. Having not seen each other for many days, they naturally missed each other deeply. Just as they were about to say something, they heard a woman's cries and shouts from behind. "I was wrong. Don't hit me." Jin Yenze, his eyes bloodshot, was dragging Lin Jian back along the ground. The two groups happened to lock eyes. Ching, Jin Yenze shoved Lin Jian aside and rushed toward Lin Jiqing, only to be stopped by Jiyu Yuan, who frowned in disapproval. "Who are you, and what gives you the right to stop me?" Jin Yenze and Jiyu Yuan began to struggle with each other. Lin Jiqing didn't want Jiyu Yuan to get hurt, so she quickly called Jiyu Yuan's bodyguards, who pulled the two men apart as they were entangled in a fight. Lin Jiqing pulled Jiyu Yuan aside and carefully checked to see if he was injured. Jin Yenze, pinned down on the ground by the security guard, struggled in disbelief. Ching, it's me. Yenze, you should be concerned about me. Sir, I'm sorry, but you might have mistaken me for someone else. Lin Jiqing held back Jin Yenze, who was frowning and about to say something, and calmly explained. But Jin Yenze simply didn't believe it. He stared at them as if possessed. "Impossible. You are my Ching. I know. Is it because I cheated that you got angry and found this pretty boy to deceive me? I've changed now. Please come back to me." What a madman. Jiyu Yuan cursed under his breath, seeing that Jin Yenze was not in a good mental state and fearing he might harm Lin Jiqing. Jiyu Yuan quickly had his bodyguards restrain Jin Yenze, then turned to shield Lin Jiqing and left with her. "Are you okay?" Jiyu Yuan looked at Lin Jiqing, who was still trembling slightly in his arms. With a heart full of pain, and handed her a bottle of water. Lin Jiqing took a sip of water from Jiyu Yuan's hand, catching her breath. "It's nothing. I just didn't expect him to turn out like this now. It's really surprising." Jiyu Yuan, however, snorted coldly, his tone filled with disdain. "What's so surprising? He was always a scumbag. He's capable of anything." Lin Jiqing was surprised by his intense reaction and glanced at him with confusion. Jiyu Yuan told her everything he had investigated during this period. After hearing all this, Lin Jiqing only gave a slight, faint smile at the corner of her mouth. "I'm not at all surprised that Jin Yenze is capable of doing such things." Seeing Jiyu Yuan's worried expression, she gave a light laugh. "Don't worry. I'm fine. He can't hurt me anymore." After Lin Jiqing returned to China, she was invited to give a lecture at a well-known art college in the country, only to unexpectedly run into the very people she least wanted to see. Ching, Jin Yenze saw Lin Jiqing, his tone full of surprise. "I knew it was you that day. I know you won't forgive me, so I specially brought your parents to see you." Lin Jiqing calmly took 2 steps back, turned her head, and saw the Lin family parents standing nearby, looking at her with tears in their eyes. "You child. No matter how much grievance you have, you can't scare us with suicide. You know, when we heard you were dead, Mom and Dad's hearts were about to break." Mrs. Lin held Lin Jiqing's hand, as if they had always been a family, but the nail marks in Lin Jiqing's palm still revealed her unwillingness. She just liked Lin Jian. Only Jian was her little warm-hearted cotton-padded jacket. This eldest daughter, who always kept to herself and never listened to her discipline, had always been a source of great annoyance to her. But now, Jian was being held back in the Jin family. If it weren't for the child in her womb, she would have been kicked out long ago. She liked Jian, but what she liked even more was her own life of luxury and comfort. There was no other way. She could only listen to the advice of Father Lin and Jin Yenze. Come here to show weakness to the daughter she hates the most. Father Lin was not to be outdone either. Though his eyes were slightly teary, he still put on the air of a father's authority. "All right, let's not talk about the past anymore. It's good that you're back. Come home for dinner tonight. And Yenze should come too. Let's have a proper family reunion." A family? Lin Jiqing looked at them with a sarcastic expression and quickly withdrew her hand. "Hasn't it always been Lin Jian who's been part of your family? When have you ever treated me as one of you?" "What nonsense. Jian is just an adopted daughter, but you are our biological daughter, Mr. Lin looked at her with displeasure, but he had forgotten that his daughter was no longer the girl who would secretly shed tears over his favoritism. Did I say something wrong, Jin Yenza? The one you initially fell in love with was Lin Jian. Later, when you realized you couldn't catch up to her, you settled for being with me. After being with me, you grew greedy and even got involved with Lin Jian right in front of me. Now you two are married and have a child, so why are you still bothering me? As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of the three people opposite froze completely. They thought Lin Jiqing had just returned not long ago, but they never expected her to know everything so clearly. Jiqing, this is your fault, Father Lin earnestly advised her. Isn't it normal for a successful man to have multiple wives and concubines outside? Moreover, you and Jian are sisters. It would be a beautiful story for two sisters to serve the same husband. It's clear that Mr. Lin is quite pleased with his own theory, while Mrs. Lin is barely holding back her eye roll. Lin Jiqing sneered, curling the corner of her mouth. Jin Yenza noticed her displeasure and quickly spoke up to explain. Qingqing, you know I love you. If you're unwilling, I'll divorce Lin Jian right away. We didn't even have a wedding back then, so this time, you can have the wedding exactly as you want it. Seeing that Lin Jiqing remained silent, Jin Yenza thought her attitude might be softening. His eyes lit up for a moment, and he began to push his luck by laying out his conditions. Back then, I couldn't resist the temptation and was seduced by Lin Jian. Moreover, it was because I felt sorry for you and was afraid you would suffer from childbirth that I let Jian have the baby. If you agree to come back to me, I promise that the child in Jian's belly will have only you as its mother. Upon hearing his words, Mr. and Mrs. Lin were both stunned. Mrs. Lin was about to say something when Mr. Lin grabbed her arm and gently shook his head at her. Jin Yenza, when we were about to get married, you kept saying that the phoenix crown was made for me. So why does Lin Jian also have one? Jin Yenza rolled his eyes, about to explain, but Lin Jiqing interrupted him. Jin Yenza, let me make it clear, I will never accept a polygamous marriage, nor can I accept my husband belonging, both physically and emotionally, to another woman. The moment you brought Lin Jian to my bedside and were intimate with her, I swore I would never forgive you, and as for the two of you, from today onward, I will no longer acknowledge you as my parents. Because people who would sell their own daughter are unworthy of being called parents. With that, she turned and walked away, ignoring the furious reactions of the three behind her. Once she got home, Lin Jiqing still couldn't hold back her anger and slammed a cup down hard on the table. It's almost mealtime, and Jiyu Yuan still hasn't returned. When the doorbell rang, Lin Jiqing instinctively thought that Jiyu Yuan, that scatterbrained fool, had forgotten his keys again. She excitedly went to open the door, only to see Jin Yenza standing there. He was covered in sweat, holding a bag of pastries at the doorstep. Jiqing, I know you won't easily forgive me, but I want to prove to you that I truly know I was wrong. This is the pastry from that shop you used to love the most. You always said you wanted to try it, but I never once queued up to buy it for you. Today, I specifically bought it to make amends. In the past, I was always too busy and neglected your feelings. Now, I've decided to treat you twice as well until you forgive me. Jin Yenza's gaze was sincere, as if he was nearly moved by his own words. Lin Jiqing pinched the bridge of her nose and gave him a cold glance. Jin Yenza, how many times do I have to tell you? The fundamental issue between us is that you have never respected me. I've said it countless times, my relationship with that couple from the Lin family is terrible. Yet you always arrogantly try to make me reconcile with them. You even brought them here today to threaten me. Moreover, I will never forgive you. Our relationship was built on deception from the very beginning. I've already stepped back, and now you and Lin Jian are married. Please, just leave me alone, okay? Jin Yenza only thought Lin Jiqing was speaking in anger. He gazed at her with deep affection. I understand, I've hurt you, but please believe me, you are the one I love most. Marrying her was only because I was forced by circumstances. She's pregnant, and my parents have always wanted a child. I had no choice but to do this. Jin Yenza's rambling left Lin Jiqing utterly exasperated. She wondered if she should just call the bodyguards to throw him out. Just then, Jiyu Yuan returned. Sorry, but this is my and Jiqing's home. Please don't come to our house so casually in the future. You're not welcome here. Jiyu Yuan pushed Jin Yenza out. accidentally knocking the bag of pastries to the ground and stomping them into a messy pulp. You, Jin Yenja pointed at him, his face filled with resentment, his eyes fixed longingly on Lin Jiqing. Ching, tell me it's fake between you and him, right? You're just upset that I'm with Jian. So you found him to make me jealous, right? Do you think I'm like you? Lin Jiqing held onto Jiyu Yuan's arm, looking at him coldly. Jiyu Yuan was even more direct, pulling Lin Jiqing over and planting a fierce kiss on her lips. Lin Jiqing was so startled that her eyes widened in shock. Now do you believe it? After the kiss ended, Jiyu Yuan told Lin Jiqing to go back first, then casually wiped his lips and looked at Jin Yenza with a mocking expression. Jin Yenza gritted his teeth in anger and threw a punch as soon as he approached. But during this time, aside from work, he had been drinking constantly. How could he possibly be a match for Jiyu Yuan? Jiyu Yuan grabbed him by the collar in just a few moves and pinned him to the ground, yet Jin Yenza continued to shout defiantly, Lin Jiqing, do you know who he is? The son of the Jiyu family, the wealthiest in the city. Do you think he would truly love someone like you, a worn-out shoe? Let me tell you. These rich second-generation heirs are just playing around. Only I genuinely love you. Jiyu Yuan couldn't hold back any longer and threw a punch, landing it squarely on Jin Yenza's face. Whether I love Jiqing or not is none of your damn business, you bastard. Let me tell you, true love doesn't waver or change. A fickle scumbag like you losing Jiqing is exactly what you deserve. What makes you think you can enjoy the company of a mistress who bore your children while still trying to rekindle things with Jiqing? Jiyu Yuan, panting heavily, impatiently let go of him and threw him to the bodyguards outside. Lin Jiqing watched him being dragged away like a dog, but never once looked back. In the heavy rain, Jiyu Yuan's words kept echoing in Jin Yenza's ears. All of this is Lin Jian's fault. If it weren't for her, how could he have separated from Jiqing? How could he have let Jiqing fall into the arms of another man? Thinking of this, his heart grew even more resolute. In the evening, Lin Jiqing accompanied Jiyu Yuan to visit their friend who was a doctor at the hospital. As they were leaving, they saw a group of people carrying 2 stretchers in the hallway. Rushing quickly toward the operating room, Lin Jiqing glanced over and discovered that one of the people on the stretchers was actually Lin Jian. On the stretcher, Lin Jian was no longer the beautiful and spoiled young lady she once was, with a large belly. Her face was deathly pale, looking particularly haggard. Compared to her belly, her limbs seemed so thin they might snap at any moment. Lying on the bed, she covered her belly with both hands, blood continuously flowing out from it. What on earth is going on? The little nurses nearby seemed to already know everything, whispering incessantly. Lin Jiqing was a bit curious and stepped forward to ask. When the little nurses saw such a gentle and beautiful woman like Lin Jiqing, their faces flushed, and they eagerly told her everything. After Jin Yenza returned home, he stared intently at Lin Jian, who was sound asleep in bed. He placed his hand directly on her slender, fragile neck and gripped her tightly. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, how could Jiqing have left me? Lin Jian woke from her sleep, struggling with all her might. Her struggling voice was heard by Mrs. Jin. What are you up to in the middle of the night? Not sleeping again? Yawning, she walked in slowly and immediately saw Lin Jian struggling on the bed. Casting a pleading look her way, she grabbed Jin Yenza firmly. Son, have you lost your mind? She's carrying our family's child. Mom, don't stop me. Do you know it's because of her that Jiqing refuses to reconcile with me? Jin Yenza seemed possessed, constantly trying to lunge forward, while his mother used her not-so-strong body to keep blocking him. Enough. Who is Lin Jiqing? I think she's nothing but a troublemaker. You've been together for so many years, and she hasn't given you a single child. That's one thing. But she also nearly ruined your reputation. And now, you're actually willing to harm your own child for her sake. I think you've truly gone mad. Jin Yenza ultimately didn't dare to use too much force on his mother. As the two struggled, Jin's mother suddenly let out a muffled groan and collapsed to the ground. Mom. Both of them turned around simultaneously and saw Lin Jian holding a fruit knife, stabbing it fiercely into Jin's mother's back. You want me to die? You go die first. Watching her frenzied state, Jin Yenza's eyes instantly reddened. He casually grabbed a vase and smashed it hard into Lin Jian's stomach. No. Mother Jin collapsed weakly on the ground, witnessing everything unfold. My grandson. After that, Mr. Jin, who had rushed over in a hurry, immediately called an ambulance and drove Jin Yenza out. Yenza, you are the most promising child in our family, you can't be in trouble, go quickly. Jin Yenza refused to leave. But seeing his father kneeling on the ground, pleading in agony, he gritted his teeth, held back his tears, and hurriedly ran out. Sister, what do you think about this? Let's not even mention how he hurt the mistress in an attempt to win back his original wife, whom he had driven away. As a well-known figure in the industry, how could he be so oblivious to the news? In his situation, how could his father possibly succeed in speaking up for him? I genuinely admired him and his ex-girlfriend back then, but who would have thought is actually this kind of person? The little nurse spoke quickly, and in no time, Lin Jiqing understood the whole story from beginning to end. She and Jiyu Yuan exchanged glances, both with a look of helplessness in their eyes. Not long after, news came from the hospital that both Jin's mother and Lin Jian had died despite rescue efforts. Lin Jiqing sighed and, accompanied by Jiyu Yuan, returned home. Upon arriving home, they found Lin's parents waiting tearfully at their door. Jiqing, you're finally back, Mr. Lin excitedly ran over and grabbed Lin Jiqing's hand, but Jiyu Yuan immediately pushed it away. Jiyu Yuan wrapped his arm around Lin Jiqing's shoulder. Sorry, but please don't touch her without permission. You, Father Lin angrily pointed at Jiyu Yuan, about to say something, but suddenly changed his expression. Jiqing, this is your fault. You didn't even introduce such a good son-in-law like Jiyu Yuan to us, causing this big misunderstanding. It's like family not recognizing family. Sorry, I've already said before, I have nothing to do with you anymore. Lin Jiqing looked at the Lin family parents, who were seething with anger but dared not speak out, and gradually recalled the parents who had always been critical of her in the past. In a daze, it felt as though those days had passed long ago. She knew that because of Lin Jian and Jin Yenza's situation, the already precarious small company of the Lin family had gone bankrupt. The Lin couple had only come eagerly to acknowledge her after hearing that she was with Jiyu Yuan. But how can a broken mirror ever be made whole again? Mr. Lin's hair, which had always been meticulously groomed, was now half white, and Mrs. Lin no longer looked like the noble lady she once was. She wore a dress full of wrinkles, with dark circles under her eyes. Seeing her parents like this, she felt neither schadenfreude nor pity. She simply felt as though she had encountered two down-and-out middle-aged people at her doorstep. She never looked at them again, and under Jiyu Yuan's protection, she walked into the room. Behind her, the scolding from the Lin family parents continued incessantly. You heartless wretch, I gave birth to you and raised you, and now you won't even support your own parents in their old age. If it weren't for your sister's death, who would come begging you? No wonder Jin Yenza doesn't want you. You're a jinx, born to bring bad luck to everyone. Jiyu Yuan suddenly turned back, looking down at the Lin family parents with a cold gaze. A person who didn't even care when their beloved adopted daughter died has no right to criticize Jiqing. Instead of wasting time shouting at the door, you should worry more about yourselves. Jiqing has me, but you're about to go bankrupt. Before the Lin family parents could retort, Jiyu Yuan directly had the butler throw them out. If you dare cause trouble at our house again, I'll make sure you lose everything after you go bankrupt. Hearing this, the Lin family parents didn't dare to struggle anymore and obediently followed the butler, slinking away in disgrace. A few months later, the Lin family finally declared bankruptcy. Mrs. Lin filed for divorce, but Mr. Lin refused to agree, and the two fought fiercely. Jin Yenza was arrested and brought to justice. After the court tried the case, he was sentenced to death. However, not long after, it was discovered that he was already in the late stages of stomach cancer. During the days when Lin Jiqing left, he drank heavily every day, and his stomach had long been ruined by the alcohol. Jin Yenza applied for medical parole and requested to see Lin Jiqing. Naturally, Lin Jiqing refused. Lying in the hospital bed, he stared blankly at the snowy sky outside the window for a long time. Is there something outside the window? The doctor saw him staring out the window and thought there was something outside, but Jin Yenza just smiled faintly, a tear hanging at the corner of his eye. I just remembered the first snow that year. After saying these words, all the vital signs on the monitor suddenly dropped to zero. Jin Yenza passed away on a day of heavy snowfall. After his death, Jiyu Yuan and Lin Jiqing collected his remains and laid him to rest in a simple cemetery. Jiyu Yuan held an umbrella, watching Lin Jiqing beside him holding a box. Lin Jiqing gently brushed the snowflakes off the box and placed it in Jin Yanzha's grave. Inside the box was a jade statue that Jin Yanzha had recarved for Lin Jiqing. He had once been smug, thinking he had tricked Lin Jiqing into being with him using a clay statue wrapped in jade, but he didn't know that what Lin Jiqing had always loved was the person who made the clay statue for her when she was a child. So, no matter how beautiful or vivid the jade statue was later, it couldn't mend Lin Jiqing's broken heart. Goodbye, Jin Yanzha. Our story began with the first snow, and it should also end with the first snow. I won't come to see you again in the future. After saying what she wanted to say, Lin Jiqing took Jiyu Yuan and left the cemetery together. The two of them walked from the snowy ground into the sunshine, sharing an umbrella. End of full text.